Chapter 34:30. Crape Myrtle. There are only 4 people who can walk this path and take this step. Even if I am not encountering Qin Xiu in this round, I am bound to meet him eventually. The next round I will probably encounter Qin Xiu. Hansen did not care which opponent he was going to encounter. Seeing the area open up ahead of him, he watched a person emerge from the clouds. Hansen was shocked by who it was. The person's body glowed with a god light. He was like a sun in the sky. He was a god spirit, but Hansen could not recall this god spirit. He was more than a little surprised. Weird. I have met the 12 Annihilation main gods and God Hall leader, so why have I never seen this person before? Hansen checked out the god spirit. His brain quickly jumped to think. Even if the 12 Annihilation class god spirits wanted to take part in the Geno tablet fights and were able to reach the top 4, this nameless god spirit is the one that made the effort to do so. This is so weird. The god spirits were different from ordinary creatures. They relied on their god temples and god bases. The levels and strength of a god spirit correlated with the god temple and god base they possessed. Their powers would be higher. It was hard to believe such a nameless god spirit had been able to walk this far. This god spirit was a man. He looked pretty, but his body was very big. He was so perfect that one could not nitpick the smallest of flaws. Not even men could find anything bad to say about him. Are you a god spirit from the Geno Hall? Hansen wondered if that god spirit was a wild god. Otherwise, it would not make sense that he had been able to make this step. The god spirit nodded and said, yes. This answer surprised Senator Hansen asked, what is your god title? I am just an unknown small god spirit, the god spirit said with a smile. I am of the lowest tier, just a small destroyed class god spirit. If I tell you my title, I am afraid you will never have heard of it before. If you do not tell me, how am I supposed to know if I have never heard it before or have? Hansen was smiling too, but he thought, just a destroyed class god spirit? If so, how has he been able to reach the top 4? The god spirit stopped resisting and provided his name. My name is Crape Myrtle. Have you heard about me before, Mr. Dollar? Hansen ransacked his memory, but he could not remember ever hearing this name before. He had never heard of a god spirit parading around with this sort of title. From now on, I will remember this name, Hansen answered. Crape Myrtle smiled. His smile was like a warm spring sun that could make people drown in an intoxicating haze. You are welcome, Mr. Dollar. To be able to fight you is going to be a great pleasure for me. Please teach me a thing or two in our engagement. After Crape Myrtle said, the creatures of the 2 universes sighed. After watching Hansen's last 3 supposed fights, and with Crape Myrtle calling him a mister, they no longer worried about Crape Myrtle giving up like Wang Yuhang and the others. I say, Hansen's luck is not always so good then, is it? It is about time he did something for real. Is Crape Myrtle really a destroyed class god spirit? Surely a destroyed class god spirit cannot be strong enough to reach the top 4. Has he merely been as lucky as Hansen with all of his rivals giving up? People weren't only just interested in Hansen now. They were interested in the Crape Myrtle, who was a god spirit they had never heard of before. I do not think I will be able to teach you much, but I will do my best. Hansen performed an appreciative gesture, and allowed Crape Myrtle to attack first. In that case, you better watch out, Mr. Dollar, Crape Myrtle said as a godly power arose around him. A sky full of stars was born, and it covered the whole arena. In the 33 skies there was no sun, no stars and no moon. Now it was flickering. When Hansen had a closer look, he was given a shock. The star was not something thick that was made from god powers. It was a real planet. The planet was so lively that it looked like there were lots of life forms living there. Using god powers to make space is impressive. This guy cannot simply be a destroyed class god spirit, Hansen shockingly thought. Crape Myrtle still had not attacked, so Hansen's powers had not been triggered. He could not check out the planet properly, but it was just that his foe was exuding a presence that was greater than a destroyed class god spirit. Crape Myrtle said, Mr. Dollar, watch this. My skill is called Star Chess Cloth. A sky full of stars changed to become something alive. A sky full of starlight crossed each other, and went for Senator. Thousands of stars combined, and Hansen's powers were activated. Hansen was most surprised about his eyes when his powers were triggered. He could not see where the flaws of the stars were. Every star had a different element and type of starlight. Out of the tens of thousands of planets, there were no two planets that had a starlight element that was the same. It was like all of space was starlight, and it was combining all the elements of the universe. Starlight substances of tens of thousands of different elements combined. It was like the complete rules of the universe. There weren't any flaws, and there was not anything missing. If there are no flaws, then power can break it. Hansen's eyes froze. His hands gathered up power. He lifted a star, and planned on hitting the starlight. Amidst the endless starlight, it touched Hansen's hands and made him suffer a shock. The starlight that seemed so scary did not have any power. It touched down on his hand like a normal light shining on his hand. It made his hands look purple and red, but they were not destructive. Hansen was shocked because he had just found out that the scary, powerful starlight did not have power. It was immune to his body. The starlight had no power. It was like a shadow. It did not matter if Hansen could not tell, but this time his body had been tricked by the light shadow. His powers were activated. This was the first time this had happened to Hansen, or even Demon Alpha, Azura, and other elites like that could not trick Hansen's body, but Crape Myrtle was able to do it. This was scary. Who are you? Hansen looked at Crape Myrtle. He did not believe Crape Myrtle was just a destroyed-class god spirit. The universe could not have a powerful destroyed-class god spirit like that. Even if there was, it would be an annihilation class 1 already. Mr. Dollar is so forgetful, Crape Myrtle said. My name is Crape Myrtle. He then flashed with a god light and said, Pay attention, Mr. Dollar. My skill is called Star Change. When the god light of Crape Myrtle's body changed, a sky full of stars started to change too. It rained down starlight that had been created by 1,000 stars. Hansen did not end up rushing just because of his misjudgment. He did not want to be reckless. He raised his hand and reached for the star. He discovered that the star did not have any power. It was still just an empty shadow. Crape Myrtle kept using many different skills. He used 7. None of them seemed to contain power. He used 7 shadow skills that did not do anything, and they tricked Hansen's body 7 times. Chapter 34-31. Flaws exposed. Hansen looked dim. Ever since his body evolved, this was the first he had witnessed something like this. He could not tell what was authentic when it came to Crape Myrtle, whose entire body was veiled by fog. Hansen could even see through Demon Alpha, who had the power of Bao'er's father, but he was unable to do what he did against her to Crape Myrtle. These illusion skills are very powerful, but for me, that can only be a good thing. It may trick my body, but I can attack. After being tricked by the illusion skills 7 times, Hansen decided now would be the time to strike. When Crape Myrtle made the star shine, Hansen's body power exploded. He teleported in front of Crape Myrtle and threw a punch toward Crape Myrtle's chest. Hansen's punch had a lot of power amassed in it. It traveled with the power of the Dongxian Sutra. The powerful Dongxian power made the universal cogwheels all around stop spinning. Hansen proved it on Demon Alpha's body. Even the powerful cause God Spirit power was able to be locked by the Dongxian Sutra's power. Beneath the power of the Dongxian Sutra, it did not matter if there were wind, fire, lightning, thunder, time, or space powers coming against him. It could all be forced to stop spinning. That also included Crape Myrtle's power. Just as Hansen's fist was going to collide with Crape Myrtle's form, Crape Myrtle's lips developed a weird smile. The body, which once stopped, had started to move. It was extremely fast. The moment it went past Hansen's fist, his fingers went toward Hansen's waist. Hansen's reaction speed was very fast, but not enough to dodge those fingers. Crape Myrtle came into contact with Hansen's waist. The fingering power was not like starlight or anything at all. Hansen felt as if a needle was thrust right into his waist. He felt a numbness claim his entire body. One Crape Myrtle's 10 fingers were like swords. They covered Hansen's body. When Hansen felt sore, he planned to attack like mad. He hoped to defeat Hansen. Hansen was shocked. Now the only person who had been able to hurt his body thus far was this new nemesis. Crape Myrtle's power was so strong, But it was not enough to make him lose control of his body. He held the sore feelings in and moved his body. He used all his fingers like swords and went after Crape Myrtle's fingers. Crape Myrtle was surprised by the fact that Hansen was able to fight back. His body was like the wind, not wanting to directly engage with Senator Hansen was not going to permit Crape Myrtle the opportunity to fall back and retreat. When he wanted to give chase, he realized his power was all gone, and could no longer combat Crape Myrtle. Hansen frowned in thought. What is going on? Why does my body believe this man is harmless to me? Crape Myrtle was not too far away, but he looked back at Hansen and laughed while saying, I see. Your body requires the power of an enemy's power before being activated, so that you can use the same amount of power to repel them. If I don't use power, then your body is practically useless. After that sentence was spoken, the two universes were put into shock. No way. Hansen is an annihilation class god spirit. What Crape Myrtle just said does not seem possible. Does he need an opponent's power to activate his own body's power? What kind of element is that? Really? Everyone was talking about it. Hansen calmly looked at Crape Myrtle. He was surprised that Crape Myrtle was able to so easily see through his body's condition, but he had not detected any powers analyzing him in such a way. Hansen never thought the condition of his body could be hidden from everyone. Even if Crape Myrtle did not see it, when he fought Qin Xiu, he was convinced Qin Xiu would be able to learn that about him anyway. Mr. Dollar, am I not correct? Crape Myrtle asked with a smile. You are right. Hansen did not deny this. He just nodded. What? Really? Is it true? If Hansen's opponent does not use any power, he will be unable to fight. A person like that can reach the top 4 is a bit of a joke, don't you think? I told you so. Hansen's success only comes from the people he knows. Otherwise, with his power, how was he ever able to reach the top 4? That Wang Yuhang was much stronger than him. It is a shame Wang Yuhang was such a genius and decided to quit the top 16 for Han Sr. That is impossible. Mr. Dollar is so powerful. There is no way things are like this. Something must have gone wrong. In the universe, everyone was shocked. This news was far too shocking. Oh no! Sanmu's power has been seen through. In Space Garden, Tang Jinliu was worried. Ji Yanran was looking nervous as well. Hansen's body condition was better off being hidden. Now that his flaws had been exposed, he had lost the chance of winning. In that case, it looks like you are not going to be winning today, Crape Myrtle quietly said. No. I am going to win, Hansen said with a shake of his head. Mr. Dollar is so confident. Please explain to me how it is you think you will turn out to be the victor. Crape Myrtle was not mocking him. He was seriously asking. It is like you said, my body needs your power to be activated, Hansen said. If you don't use power, then I cannot use my power. But if you don't use power, you are not going to win either. If you use power in a bid to destroy me, I assure you I will be the victor. That might not be true entirely. Crape Myrtle was looking very self-assured. Is that so, huh? I am very keen to see how you plan on beating me. Hansen looked at Crape Myrtle. He already knew what his foe was planning on doing. Mr. Dollar, did you forget about my starlight shadows? Crape Myrtle asked. Allow me to show you once more. They are not simply shadows. His body conjured up a god light. A sky full of stars glowed with starlight. A lot of lights came raining down, crossing each other like chess pieces as they went for Hansen's body. This time, the starlight was different. The starlight did not activate Hansen's power. His body thought the starlight was harmless. Hansen's heart jumped. He felt a chill in his spine. In the next second, the starlight struck him. Hansen did not have any power activated. He was unable to evade the falling starlight. Arg! Hansen screamed. The starlight was like a knife-light sword blade. It went around Han's senator. He was unable to control his body, so he flew away. Hansen felt his body burn wherever the starlight touched him. It was like he was being lashed with a cruel whip. 10 million lights fell. It was like 10 million lashes delivered by a heinous whip. The pain was so agonizing that Hansen thought he was going to break his teeth. Although Hansen was getting defeated, his power had yet to activate. His body did not think it was in any form of danger. Hansen was able to confirm his guess. Crape Myrtle's power was able to trick his body. Chapter 34-32. Crape Myrtle's backstory. Figuring out that Hansen's body had a few issues was not difficult. Being able to trick his body and also injure him to a desperate point without the power in his body activating was something, by all accounts, scary. Fortunately, without exploding power, Hansen had a scary body strength. 10 million starlights came down on him, but only left a small red mark on his skin. This type of injury was not too serious. Hansen was able to endure the pain. Not seeing a way out of this predicament was the scariest thing. If he was able to use Geno arts, Hansen would have had 10,000 different ways to break Crape Myrtle's starlights. Now there was nothing he could do. In Space Garden, Tang Jinlia was a bit worried as he asked, "Is Hansen going to be fine up there?" Huang Fujing did not talk any crap. She looked at Han Yufei and asked, "Sister Han, do you know anything about Crape Myrtle's backstory?" Anyone was able to tell that Crape Myrtle was not just a mere destroyed class god spirit, like he had described himself earlier. With the power he wielded, even an annihilation class god spirit could do the same as him. One Han Yufei was silent a moment before saying, "I have never heard of this god spirit before. From what I best know, he is not one of the 12 annihilation class god spirit. But judging from what his body can do, he has a god spirit body. He is certainly a god spirit. If he is not an annihilation class god spirit, is he a reboot class god spirit?" Tang Jinliu asked. "I thought Hansen said there were only 5 reboot class god spirit. This Crape Myrtle is not included amongst them, right?" Han Yufei frowned and did not speak. Clearly, she did not know Crape Myrtle either. Far away, on a blue planet, a metal and gold god temple sat on an island in the middle of the sea. A man and a woman were lying on the beach, sunbathing while watching Hansen and Crape Myrtle conduct their combat. The woman was so pretty that one could not stare at her directly. She looked very cold. It was hard to think about something sensual when it came to her. Even sexual offenders would have felt ashamed of themselves seeing her, as they could not think of anything lewd about her. The man nearby had bronze skin. His chest was wide. He looked like a terrifically masculine and strong bloke. If Hansen was able to see them, he would know who they were. The man and the woman were Tai Yi and Moon God. Moon God watched Hansen get whipped by starlight. She lifted her lips and said, "Hansen, that little man is useless. He cannot even defeat a destroyed class, small god spirit like that." Tai Yi laughed heartily and said, "You know who that Crape Myrtle is, yet you are willing to say something like that. Do you disdain Hansen, or do you disdain Crape Myrtle?" "Neither of them is good stuff anyway," Moon God said. She could not help but laugh. Tai Yi smiled. "No matter what, Hansen is your heir. If he is defeated too badly, you will only be embarrassed. But it might be Crape Myrtle that beats him. Even so, he has only sustained minor injuries. And that, I must say, is rather surprising. Are you speaking well on Hansen's behalf, or speaking well of Crape Myrtle?" Moon God looked displeased. "Crape Myrtle is bullying someone lesser. Does he really think I can be bullied? When you beat up a dog, you better watch out for who the master is. He is my heir." One Tai Yi laughed. "Do not worry. Crape Myrtle will not do much to Senator. He just wants to let Hansen know his weakness. If Hansen can find out what that is, it will help Hansen out. That is the only way Hansen will be able to defeat Qin Xiao. I suppose it is more like Human King right now." Moon God was shocked. "Are you saying that Crape Myrtle thinks Hansen can fight Human King and defeat him?" "Yes, that seems like a fair assessment," Tai Yi said. Otherwise, Crape Myrtle would not be dealing with things himself and forcing Hansen to confront his own flaws. Moon God displayed a face that made it look as if she was thinking of something, but then she laughed and said, "This is interesting." The leader selected her own daughter. The Geno Hall selected Senator. I thought this situation would have the two share the same opinion. I thought they would cooperate. I did not think there would still be conflict. I suppose the God Chaos Party and the Geno Hall were always supposed to be enemies. They are not really enemies. Tai Yi looked at Moon God and said, "Crape Myrtle has always taken care of Senator in the past. I thought it was all because of Bao'er, and that is why he took care of Senator now. I think he had already picked Hansen long before. 5. Do you think he selected Hansen? That does not seem possible. Hansen's body is strange now, but we still do not know if he can yet walk the step. Even if he can walk the step, Crape Myrtle would not have had the foresight to see all of Hansen's achievements up until this point unless the old leader is revived. But the old leader wasn't Crape Myrtle either. He could not see this power. Moon God looked as if she did not believe him. Maybe Crape Myrtle could not see Hansen's future achievements, but at least he knew Hansen was Han Jinji's heir, which was why he was willing to engage in the gamble. Tai said, Han Jinji? That old con man? How is he related to the Geno Hall? Moon God frowned upon hearing Han Jinji's name spoken. I only know as much as you do, Tai seriously said. To be able to make a wish in front of Crape Myrtle and survive is a very rare accomplishment, but Han Jinji is one such person. I heard he was able to beat Crape Myrtle. Humph. I do not think he is that powerful. All he does is play tricks. Moon licked her lips as she spoke. If one were to look at her face, it would seem as if she did not like the person known as Han Jinji. Even if he is just a scammer, to be able to beat the master of the universe is something rather scary, Tai seriously said. If you ever see him again, do not forget that little tidbit. 1. I do not believe this. He is a liar. What can he possibly do to someone like me? Plus, he only beat the master of the universe. If a new Geno tablet master is born, the leader will change. To beat the Geno Hall leader will be nothing to be so proud about. If he is so good, why does not fight for his heir and get that Qin Xiu? That human king? Moon God grunted. Tai felt depressed. He shook his head and said, that person is mysterious. I do not know his motives either. I thought he might be able to beat the reincarnation of the old leader, but the old leader selected Azura for his spirit body. He combined with Azura. Now he cannot reincarnate again. If someone ever comes to know who that Han Jinji is, it is likely only Crape Myrtle would be the one. They are both just con men, Moon God said. They are merely liars. They only have the same interests. While they discussed, Hansen was trapped in starlight. He gathered up power, wanting to break free of the starlight, but his body could not be woken up by the power keeping him down. No matter how he tried, the starlight stopped him. If my power cannot be used, then I will just have to use Crape Myrtle's power, Hansen thought as he closed his eyes. He focused on the starlight that rained down on him. Chapter 34-33. Using power to strike power. Self-power could not be used. Hansen planned on using power to defeat opposing power. It was the most primitive and complicated technique he could perform. Many people knew it, but beating power by using power was not often used in a real fight. Normally, it was the stronger person who would beat the weaker person. They used power to whittle down the confidence of an opponent. In a real fight between two people who were of the same level, or when the weak fought against the strong, using powers to beat power skills was hard to use in an actual fight. Using power to beat power was something Hansen was very good at. When Bai Yishan taught him how to use Yin-Yang Blast, Hansen had spent time researching how to beat power by using power. Now he was unable to activate his body's power. Because his body had enough strength, it was not too hard for him to use power to beat power. He felt the starlight land on him. Hansen's muscles and bones started to adjust their angles lightly. When the starlight hit, there were weird changes. I say, people like Hansen should not be able to reach the top 4. Although he might be an annihilation class god spirit, he is not one of the top 12 main gods. Wild gods will forever be wild gods. They cannot be compared to main gods. His body is strong. I will give him that. He has been pummeled by starlight for so long now, and he has not yet passed out. To be humiliated like this, why not reverse the tide and concede? I am afraid he might not even be able to concede. Why? With no power, why bother to climb so high? Everyone knows the higher you climb, the farther you fall. In the universe of kingdoms, many nobles were brutally mocking Han's senator at this time. Suddenly, some weird changes were going on with Hansen's body. The starlight that landed on him was like light falling on a mirror. It was reflected from Hansen's body. Boom, boom, boom. The beams of light that were bounced away from Hansen's body struck other starlight. When they collided, there was a scary shockwave and light. The whole battleground was shining. It was like fireworks. More and more starlight was reflected out by Hansen's body. It did not just stop the starlight coming down on Han Senator, a lot of starlights were going for Crape Myrtle. He is using power to beat power. That is quite impressive, but it will not be enough. Crape Myrtle's eyes flashed. A sky full of stars changed along with his will. The starlight that came for Hansen was now different from what it was before. Hansen's body felt the changes in the starlight. When the starlight came down, it was violently rushing everywhere. Now the starlight was changing in accordance with its elements. Victory did not seem to be in reach. The fire was nothing normal. Water would be soft. Gold would be strong. Earth was heavy. Every power carried different features to create different powers. Millions of starlight were falling. Not a single starlight was a repeat of the last. There were screw powers, breaking powers, explosive powers, shooting powers, insoft powers, and all kinds of powers. They all landed on Hansen to make it harder for Hansen to borrow that power. Do you think you can stop me from taking your powers? You are too naive if that is what you think. Hansen lifted his lips. His body was still shaking a little. A different power landed on him. It triggered some changes in his body that one could not see. It blasted him with starlight. Now Hansen was not being stopped by starlight. All of the starlights landed on him. And then it all went to Crape Myrtle. The races of the universe were all in shock. Hansen was now rather like a mirror, reflecting all of the powers back at Crape Myrtle. The 10,000 races of the universe were all in shock. Hansen had become like a mirror, and was sending everything back at Crape Myrtle. When the universe of kingdoms was dead silent, while the Geno universe erupted with laughter and cheer. Master Dollar really is Master Dollar. That Crape Myrtle can definitely not take down Master Dollar. Master Dollar is so scary. Even though there are 10,000 starlights with each starlight possessing a different power, he can forego the individual differences and bounce them all away. He can control them freely. He really can't use his power. That kid is borrowing power to use power. I am afraid he has the level of a proper god. The Geno universe was deep in discussion. Even elites like Sky Palace leader complimented Hansen by saying, to be able to use borrowing power skills this well, he has to be the #1 at it. Very High leader, who was by his side, said, that is because of his body. If his body was not that strong, it would not matter how great his borrowing powers were. They would not work. A famous theorist in this universe once said that if you give someone a support point and a stick that was long enough, he could lift the universe. But where can one find a stick that long that can carry the weight of the universe and not break? I really am curious about how Hansen's body became this strong. Sky Palace leader shook his head with a wry smile. The people in Space Garden are all special. They are all unique, and Hansen is the best amongst them. I do not understand his body right now though. Tai saw Hansen move. He laughed. That kid has evolved in such a scary way. It looks like he can accept everything that has been thrown at him. Even so, he does not quite fit into the rules of this universe. Moon God looked at Hansen and asked, is he going to take that step? Tai shook his head. No. Not even I have managed to take that step, but I have walked half of the step. I can feel some of that step's power. Now Hansen's power is different, so I cannot be entirely sure of his current situation. Moon God knew there was no answer to be had, but she still asked, in that case, what is his situation? Can he walk that step before he ends up fighting Human King? I do not know. Tai shook his head. He went silent for a bit before saying, I do think this is why Crape Myrtle came. He wants to know how far Hansen's body has developed, and see if he really can make that step. Crape Myrtle chose Hansen, Moon God said with a frown. He must have known how Hansen would turn out. Tai laughed. Do you really think he is a god that knows everything? If he was able to control everything, there would be no xenogeneics growing up. At least, he wouldn't be able to control Han Sr. In that case, why did he choose Hansen? Moon God did not understand a god spirit like Crape Myrtle selecting a person he would be unable to control. That is because the unknown always harbors possibilities. He does not want another Crape Myrtle. He wants Hansen, who can beat Qin Xiu or Human King. Tai looked at Han Sen with his eyes on fire. I just don't know if Crape Myrtle is correct. Crape Myrtle was looking funny. Seeing the sky full of starlight come, he was neither happy nor sad. The starlight landed on him like raindrops in the sea. They all disappeared. No matter how much starlight descended on Crape Myrtle, they did not do anything to his clothes. Han Sen felt a chill run down his spine. He knew Crape Myrtle was strong, but to see a strength of that magnitude still shocked him. This Crape Myrtle cannot be that guy in the Geno Hall. Han Sen started to wonder. Aside from that guy in the Geno Hall, he could not think of a god spirit this strong. You are not bad, but we are only just getting started. Crape Myrtle had been still, but now he moved. Chapter 34. I will show you how it breaks. Han Sen had encountered many elites in his time traveling across the world. There had always been a few that he considered extremely powerful. None were like this Crape Myrtle, who made him feel as if he was being put under a microscope. The man made him feel as if his body was being watched. His whole body, the whole conspiracy, and the deepest secrets he held in his heart were all seen by the eyes of that man. There were no longer any secrets. Crape Myrtle's fingers pointed directly at him. It did not seem to be done in any special kind of way. It was just a random finger aimed to touch Han Sen's forehead. There was no lightning speed. There were no shadows. There was no sense of this being a combat move. It was a random, ordinary lift of one's finger. There were no skills or anything of the sort involved. A random finger made Han Sen unsure of what to do. No. This does not work. This does not work either. Han Sen suddenly realized that under the eyes watching him, a very normal finger became the strongest skill the universe had ever seen. Han Sen suddenly snapped out of his daze. Crape Myrtle's finger is not all that special. What is special are his eyes, which can peer into one's heart. With those eyes, my thoughts all seem to be exposed. It does not matter how I want to deal with things. Crape Myrtle seems to understand. He can turn that finger into a deadly attack. As long as those eyes that can peer into people's hearts are here, how I react to the finger will be incorrect. Moon God saw how powerful that finger was, and it made her lift her lips. Crape Myrtle is such a bully. He is the master of the Geno Hall. He is the ruler of the universe. He can use the universe's rule powers to look into people's souls. He is using that to deal with Han Senator. That is certainly quite cheap. One Tai shook his head. To beat Human King he must endure through this trial. You know Qin Xiu has the old leader's genes and blood. He may not be complete, and the future says he cannot do it, but he can see through an opponent's soul. Moon God nodded. How is Han Sen supposed to win? He cannot use Geno arts. He has to use his body. This is how amazing soul skills are. They are scarier than prophecies. The future can be changed, but the thoughts in people's souls cannot lie. It is like Han Sen is openly admitting his thoughts with honesty, and then fighting per those thoughts. He can't lie, so how is he supposed to win? Tai said, soldiers are weird. People who use soldiers always win weirdly. People are always happy about it. The famous generals that can leave dark ink stains across history always use weird ways to win and become famous. But people always forget weird ways are risky ways. To do something once, there is no guarantee it can be repeated for a second time. The real generals that never lose have no big achievements, but they can still keep on fighting without dying. Do you know why? Are you talking about King Path? Moon God quietly asked. Tai nodded. Spending $1 to do something that is only worth $1, or spending $10 to do something that is worth $10, you do not earn more than you should or lose more than you should. If 10 people fight 5 people, the 10 are bound to win. If 1,000 people battle 800 people, the 1,000 must win. To tell your opponent about everything, the opponent cannot win. They only watch and lose. Do what you can. Do not take risks. This is the King Path. King Path is a battle of power. If Han Sen's body was normal, he could use King Path to take down Crape Myrtle, but his body is currently unable to use powers. Therefore, how can he use King Path? Moon God did not realize that. That entirely depends on whether or not Han Sen can take it to the next stage. Tai gave her a useless answer. Hansen's heart felt like it was fighting the sky and a human. It did not matter if he made a move. It did not matter if he fought. It did not matter if he evaded. He could not escape that menacing finger. Losing seemed like the only way. If he tried to retreat, Crape Myrtle's attacks would continue, and he would be unable to get away. Hansen knew King Path, and he knew more than Tai Yi. He thought about King Path enabling him to break Crape Myrtle's finger, but it was just as Moon God said. He had no power. How was he supposed to use King Path? A small soldier facing a million big soldiers was not a King Path. Even if a real king was left alone to fight a million soldiers, even if one spoke about King Path, it would be as funny as a clown. What do I have now that is stronger than Crape Myrtle? Hansen looked at Crape Myrtle's fingers coming. He thought about a million ideas, but his body did not move. Seeing Crape Myrtle's finger was coming to touch his finger, Hansen's eyes opened. The god light in his eyes appeared. He leaned his head back and used it to hit Crape Myrtle's finger. Crape Myrtle's finger hit Hansen on the head. Crape Myrtle was blasted away. Hansen clutched his head and fell to the ground with his lips and teeth in pain. It is a very bad idea for you to use brute force. Crape Myrtle used another hand to rub his damaged finger. His fingertip was a little red, but he still smiled at Han Sr. It is not about me being obscene or not. If you have power, you should just kill me. Hansen smiled. This sounded bad, but Hansen had been through everything. He did not care about his reputation. Crape Myrtle squinted with his eyes. He lifted his lips, looked at Hansen and smiled. Do you think I am unable to do anything to your body? Yes, that is right, Hansen answered. Okay. I will show you how I can break it. Crape Myrtle lifted his finger. He went for Han's senator. He was still using the same finger. In fact, if Crape Myrtle wanted to kill someone, he would not have to use skills or powers. If he wanted to kill someone, he would just use his thoughts. The universe did not have many creatures that forced Crape Myrtle to draw his lethal finger. It was even rarer for that finger to ever fail to kill its target. So Crape Myrtle did not require skill. The finger was already enough to kill gods and fairies. It could kill the universe. Hansen's face looked a bit dim. The finger looked the same, but he knew if Crape Myrtle really was the person he believed him to be. That finger was not just a finger. Hansen could not think of a way in which he could break it. He held onto his scalp tightly to hit Crape Myrtle's finger again. Don't you want to touch me? Now you can touch it. Hansen gathered up power on his head. He was going to hit Crape Myrtle's finger. Crape Myrtle's finger did not change. It was just like last time when it hit Hansen's head hard. This time, things were different. Hansen's head felt as if there was a nail inside it. It was so painful that it felt as if it would blow up. Chapter 34-35 Universe Class. Everything in this world has a uniqueness to its totality. The universe is a whole creation. A small creature's body can be viewed as something complete. From their substances, a universe and the creatures that occupy it are whole in this world. That means the bodies themselves can be unique universes. When Crape Myrtle spoke, his fingers moved. All of his fingers struck every part of Hansen's body. Every finger that touched Hansen was like a steel nail being hammered into his body. Hansen felt the pain too unbearable to endure. He felt terrible. The strangest thing about it all was the fact Hansen's clothes did not tear. His body wasn't physically harmed either. Even so, Hansen felt the sharp power of a nail perforating his body in midair. Even with the strength of his body, he could not get rid of the power's restrictions. I practiced all my life, evolving and understanding the miracle that is this universe. Although I do not understand the miracle this is this universe, I did get a peek behind the veil. The power of this universe is indestructible. Even a sky full of God spirits cannot keep it at bay. It does not matter how strong your body is because you cannot fight against it. While Crape Myrtle was talking, he touched Hansen 28 times with his fingers. Where the 28 fingers pointed, a point of light flickered. It was like 28 stars were pinned to Hansen's body. They trapped Hansen in space. That was especially true of the starlight on his forehead. The starlight on his forehead was so bright that he looked like an aurora borealis. How is it? Do you think I have what it takes to break your body? After Crape Myrtle pulled his hand back, He looked at Han Sun, who was pinned in the air. He smiled at him. In the beginning, Han Sun was able to move. Now, after 28 lights pinned his body, he was unable to. His power had been exhausted. It was like 28 nails had hammered him to a cross. Han Sun was even more depressed about the fact that his body had not yet been activated. It was like the power that hurt his body did not exist. Upon seeing Han Sun not answering, Crape Myrtle laughed. What? Are you still not willing to concede? Do you really want me to kick you out of the 33 skies? Han Sun's eyes looked at Crape Myrtle, as if his eyes were on fire. He seriously said, I just want to know if this is all the power you wield. So what? Even if it is all my power, so what? Crape Myrtle looked at Han Sun with interest. Nothing. I just wanted to thank you for telling me the theory of the universe, Han Sun said. Crape Myrtle laughed. There is no need to thank me. I did not become the universe itself, and what I said may not even hold true. Even if I believe my words to be the truth, I have not yet been able to take that step. Perhaps what I think is right may turn out to be wrong. If you listen to my words and follow them, and they are revealed to be wrong, you might end up even more astray. Perhaps you will want to scold me later. Han Sun behaved as if he did not hear what Crape Myrtle said. He asked, Is this the last step? If I can feel the universe inside my body, does that mean I have walked that step? Maybe, Crape Myrtle said. Judging from your body, it is a shame that you may never be able to take that step. That is because other people's bodies have rules and orders, whereas yours is just a mess. I am afraid you will not become a universe. Han Sun had to admit that what Crape Myrtle said made sense. In the past, he leveled up. His power was very similar to the rules of the universe. Now his body had no rules or order. How could he continue with a body like the one he had? Han Sun thought, if Crape Myrtle is the guy from the Geno Hall, then he is one of the very few guys that are so close to that step. The way he talks about becoming a universe must be that step Qin Xiu has been looking for. But he is right. With the current condition of my body, I do not think I will be able to walk that step. Crape Myrtle looked like he was smiling at Han Sun, but he was not smiling. Are you disappointed in the prospect you will never be able to walk that step? There is nothing to be disappointed about, Han Sun said. Life is just like that. No one will ever know what they will become. I have walked down many different paths and enjoyed many great vistas to see what others see. To me, they are the most precious forms of wealth I hold. Crape Myrtle looked at him with disdain. He laughed and said, What you have just told me sounds like a loser giving an interview and saying they have walked all they needed to and are happy with their current condition. It is like friendship comes first and competition comes second. It is like as long as your heart has me, you can marry anyone you like. They are the words of the meek wanting nothing more than to comfort their wailing hearts. When Han Sun heard him say all that, he laughed and said, You are right. Those are the words of comfort spoken to themselves by losers. Crape Myrtle looked at Han Sun and asked, Aren't you doing the exact same? You are saying you are happy by merely seeing what there is to see, and reaching the end does not truly matter. You are just comforting yourself. Han Sun seriously said, All I said was the views I admire are my rewards. I did not say the end goal does not matter. To me, the end and the view are just as important. I want it to be exciting, and I want to reach the end I want. It is a shame you have no chance of reaching the end, Crape Myrtle coldly said. Han Sun shook his head. No. I just cannot go to the end that is established by someone else like you. It does not mean I cannot reach an ending established by myself. Oh, then tell me, how do you seek to reach your end? Crape Myrtle looked at Han Sun with interest. He did not proceed to do anything else. Han Sun did not answer him. Instead, he said, To become the universe is a very strong finish, but that is just the end you set up for yourself. How do you know there is still no higher finish even beyond that? When the body becomes a universe, that means you burn yourself and commit yourself to the universe. Crape Myrtle said, You will be at the same level as the universe. That is the universe. That is all. You cannot become greater than that. If the universe is the end, then what resides outside the universe? Han Sun asked. That is whatever philosophy claims it to be, Crape Myrtle said. There are no definitive answers. Let's say there is another end outside of the universe. That means the end of the universe is just a stop. If you choose to walk to that stop, then I will choose a different path. Just because I do not go to that stop does not mean I will not reach the end. It is a shame that all of this is just a theory. You are facing are some actual difficulties. If you cannot fix your current technical limitations, you do not have what it takes to continue and go further. Crape Myrtle looked at Hansen as if his eyes were on fire. Maybe not. Hansen's eyes started to look bright. A power inside his body was coming to a boil. The 28 lights on Hansen grew brighter and brighter. The force that pinned his body in the air was like nails keeping a prisoner upright. Chapter 34-36 Take my punch. That is very good. Yes, just like that. Let me see the true potential of your body. Crape Myrtle watched the changes manifesting across Hansen's body. His eyes flickered with a weird light. One could only hear his voice come through as mumbles. Hansen's muscles were tightening, and so was his skin. He wanted to escape the pinning restrictions of the 28 lights with his strength. You were right in saying that my body is unable to feel the rules and order. It is like a stone that is so hard it is also useless. Hansen kept saying things like this while struggling because he had exhausted so much strength. The places the light pinned him were not producing grooves in his body. It was like invisible pins were going to pierce through his skin at any given moment. What does that have to do with anything? Hansen asked while he continued to struggle. Even if you cannot feel the rules and order, my body still exists. Earlier, you said everything is complete and separate from everything else. One ant, one lion, one stone. Each thing is a complete, small universe unto itself. Yeah, but so what? Just spit it out, man. What on earth are you trying to say? Crape Myrtle looked at Hansen with great interest. Even so, my body will still have a universe of its own on the inside, Hansen said. Because this universe is in chaos mode, we cannot understand it. At least, I myself cannot understand it. His right arm, which had been exerting force, moved a little. Blood started to seep from the limb. He was using too much strength. The skin of the arm that had been pinned by the light had been torn. Blood came out from it. Do you mean that your body is like the chaos mode from before the universe exploded? Crape Myrtle asked after taking more than a moment to think about it. Yes, that is precisely what I mean. You are correct. When Hansen spoke, the skin broke where the 28 lights had him pinned. He was bleeding. Hansen did not care about the wounds he had incurred. He still used strength and tried to escape the light, but this movement only made his wounds bigger. Blood came out like drops of water. You are a very daring person to think this way. You treat your body like the universe before it exploded. This makes it seem like you might have infinite possibilities. Crape Myrtle slightly pursed his lips, smiled, and said, But there is one thing you have wrong. I said every creature can use their body as a little universe, but this little universe, compared to the real universe, is very small and very simple. It is more like a prototype. The body still needs to keep evolving to make the beginning of this universe more complete. Do that, and it can be strong like the universe. If, in accordance with what you said is true, your body is a chaotic universe before it exploded, it means you are the lowest tier creature of the pyramid. You are more behind than any other creature. You are right if that is how you want to view it. My body's evolution is worse than any other creature in the universe. Hansen only spoke half of what he meant to when his right hand clenched into a fist. The light that pinned his hand went through his flesh and bones. It left a bloody hole inside him. So what? No one understands my body more than I do. Although it is very slow, I know I can feel it. It is not powerless. I can even say it is incredibly strong. I just don't have the ability to break its binding and unleash its power. If I can take that step, I believe this body will become the strongest in the universe. When Hansen spoke, more blood oozed out as the light was ripped away. It went through his flesh and bones. Hansen's body leaned forward. The light was still where it was. It went through his body and skull. His eyebrows and his brain had bloody holes in them. His body was absolutely drenched in blood from top to bottom. Just the mere sight of him was revolting. All the people who were paying attention to the battle felt their skin crawl and itch. But it was a visual that was worth enduring. Hansen managed to get rid of the restrictions that were nailing him down. He managed to shed the 28 cruel lights that had been doing their best to keep him immobile. The muscles in Hansen's body were extremely tense at this point. He looked like a burning fire that was raging brightly. He looked at Crape Myrtle and approached him. With each step, the blood holes in his body healed. Suddenly, he was back to normal. Not even a scar remained to indicate where he had been damaged. If his clothes were not stained in blood, no one would have believed what experience he had just been through. Crape Myrtle frowned. When Hansen walked closer step by step, he thought, is his body really that tough? Not even the universe power that I enlightened can make his body break through. Hansen said, Crape Myrtle, I really appreciate the assistance. As a reward, please take my punch. At the same time, he lifted his fist and threw a punch into Crape Myrtle's belly. Hansen was now certain that Crape Myrtle was Mr. God from the Geno Hall. Aside from him, no one understood the universe that much. At this level, even Qin Xiu and Tai Yi were not as good as God Hall leader. Hansen knew Crape Myrtle wasn't really there to fight him. Crape Myrtle had many chances to kick him out of the battleground, but he always seemed to elect to staying there, and chatting even the universe theory was something Crape Myrtle very obviously wanted to explain to Han Senator. He clearly wanted Hansen to understand his current body type. Crape Myrtle had also told Hansen his universe theory might not be correct. Hansen still needed to determine what was up with his body through his own understanding. Your body is still in a chaos mode. A guy such as you cannot get hurt now. Crape Myrtle was not planning on dodging. His body was composed of bright spirit lights. It gave people the impression that he looked extremely unreal. In fact, in that universe, not many powers were able to hurt Crape Myrtle. It was more like there weren't any. Unless he walked the last step. Even a guy like Qin Xiu would be unable to harm Crape Myrtle. Crape Myrtle was only half a step away from achieving the universe class. That was one reason. The most important one was the fact he was the leader of the Geno Hall. And the Geno Hall was like a machine that controlled the universe. Crape Myrtle himself was the greatest master in the universe. In the universe, unless you had a universe-class power, one could not hurt him. When Hansen's fist struck Crape Myrtle's belly, Crape Myrtle stopped talking. His eyes opened wide. The size of his pupil shrank. Pang! With Hansen's fist at its center, one could see the wave go across Crape Myrtle's body. It was like Crape Myrtle's body was a giant blob of jelly. Chapter 34-37 Crape Myrtle's decision. Hansen looked at Crape Myrtle and asked, how was that punch? Crape Myrtle's body calmed down. He then answered, not bad. He said it very simply as if nothing had happened. In his heart, he was more than shocked. Hansen's punch had been one of pure body power. It shook his body. He could not imagine how that could have happened. Crape Myrtle was like a different kind of god spirit. After all, he was known as Geno Hall leader. To be direct, the Geno Hall was a super god spirit temple, and Crape Myrtle was the main god of it. The other 12 annihilation class god spirit and other lower class god spirit were its sub-gods. All of the god temple powers gave Crape Myrtle a god spirit buff. The more powerful the god spirit was, the more buffs Crape Myrtle could get. Plus, Crape Myrtle had half of his foot in the universe class. His god body strength was above Qin Xiu. Unless there was a universe class power, no one should have been able to move his god body. But Hansen's power made his god body shake. It made Crape Myrtle's body want to explode. His brain was still buzzing after that mighty punch. Although this was because Crape Myrtle was a very proud person. It was already enough to make Crape Myrtle very shocked. Crape Myrtle thought, his body is so scary. His pure body power is already so strong. If he can truly grasp and control his body one day, even if Qin Xiu takes that step, he might not be an adequate rival to him. Are you okay? Hansen saw Crape Myrtle was not speaking or doing anything in return. He thought the punch might have hurt him pretty badly. Under the suppression of Crape Myrtle's 28 starlights, Hansen had still managed to activate his body power. This time, the power was not coming from the outside. It was coming from somewhere within. It came from his will. He had finally been able to trigger his body power. Hansen felt that power he had activated was just a small part of it. If he wanted to activate the whole power in his body and use it, he could not imagine the sort of trick that would be necessary to achieve such a feat. How could I have a problem? Your power is far from being sufficient enough to damage me. Crape Myrtle raised his head and behaved as if nothing happened. Really? In that case, that is great. Try and withstand a few more of my punches. Hansen wanted to try his method a few more times, and see if he could dredge up even more power from deep within his body. Crape Myrtle's heart was now in shock, but his face did not change to display it. He thought, if I take a few more of your punches, my god body will start to suffer. Crape Myrtle went there because he wanted to suppress Hansen, so he could learn to control his body. He quickly realized that his power was not even enough to suppress Hansen. He was unable to activate his power. Although Hansen had been able to trigger some amount of power, the power he used was pure body power. He knew that it was the most basic power there was. He was far from being able to trigger the real, meaty stuff. Human Alpha created the story of genes, but Human Alpha did not practice it. Hansen, however, did. If Human Alpha knew his story of genes could lend a hand in creating such a scary body, I wonder if he would regret treading the path he ultimately settled on. Crape Myrtle thought about this to himself, as he came to a decision. Crape Myrtle raised his head, looked at Hansen and said, Hansen, although your body is very strong, if this was back then and you could really control your body, I do not think I would be able to defeat you. Today, you will be given no chance of improving. What is that supposed to mean? Hansen was shocked by the remarks. He thought Crape Myrtle was not there for fighting. Upon hearing Crape Myrtle's tone of voice, it sounded as if he wanted to stop him from leveling up to reach the last fight. Was I mistaken? Is this not Geno Hall leader? Hansen wondered to himself. Hansen did not know Crape Myrtle did not plan on winning. After seeing Hansen's body, he decided to kick Hansen out. He did not want him to fight Human King. If Hansen encountered Human King now, Hansen was sure to lose. Hansen needed more time. Even if Human King was finally able to walk the final step, Hansen would then have a chance of winning for sure. Crape Myrtle had to decide. He wanted to now kick Hansen out of the fights so he could grow up a bit more. Crape Myrtle looked at Hansen and spoke coldly to him. What I am saying is that today I will win. In grief and sadness you will have to abandon the fight. Maybe not. Hansen had just found a way to use his body. He was no longer defenseless. Crape Myrtle weirdly laughed. No one can reject something I want to come to pass. Before Hansen could speak, Crape Myrtle put his hands together and opened them. When his hands opened, there was a god light. The god light was too strong. It shone across the whole 33 Skies battlegrounds. It was like a giant sun. All the creatures that were watching the fight felt their eyes hurt. They dared not keep their eyes on it. They closed their eyes. Even the elites that could withstand the shiny god lights could only see shiny god lights. They could not see what was transpiring in the arena. Hansen's eyes could see through the shiny god light, and he could observe Crape Myrtle's movements inside the light. When Crape Myrtle opened his hands, there was a space rift between his hands. Within that space rift, an old door appeared. Isn't that the Geno Hall door? Upon seeing the door appear, Hansen was given a fright. If Crape Myrtle was able to summon the Geno Hall door, it had to mean he was the guy inside the Geno Hall. When Crape Myrtle opened his hands completely, the Geno Hall door was revealed in its entirety. Open! Crape Myrtle shouted. The old and mysterious door opened. Suddenly, a very bright god light started to seep through the door. This was the light of 10,000 race lanterns, but Hansen still did not understand why the Geno Hall only had the race lanterns of the Geno universe. There were no race lanterns dedicated to the universe of kingdoms. Also, the universe of kingdoms was the home for any god temples. No god temples existed in the Geno universe. Crape Myrtle looked at Hansen and said, Hansen, go. You will find what you need inside here. Hansen knew for sure that this was Geno Hall's Mr. God. He was confused, so he asked, Big brother, what is that supposed to mean? I am going to fight Qin Xiu. If you send me away, you will have to fight Qin Xiu by yourself. There is no more Qin Xiu, Crape Myrtle said. What do you mean? Hansen was shocked. He did not know what had been going on inside the other arenas. He did not know Qin Xiu had been consumed by Human King. Chapter 34-38 10,000 Race Articles. Qin Xiu was consumed by another guy to become something even scarier. Crape Myrtle said. If Bao'er can successfully combine with the gene seed, she might be able to defeat Qin Xiu. Currently, if she wants to beat that guy, there is likely only a 50% chance she can succeed. And that is my most hopeful estimate. What? Did that actually happen? Who managed to consume Qin Xiu? Hansen could not believe a person like Qin Xiu had been consumed by someone else. I do not have time to explain it to you. There is not much more time I can give you. If that guy really manages to take that step, it will be fine if he goes for a way that is different from what Qin Xiu had planned. If this new felon goes down the same route, the damage dealt with the universe will be even greater. So, I will need you to control your body as fast as possible. That way, maybe you will be able to beat him. After Crape Myrtle said that, he put his hands together and shouted, "Go! You should experience the miracle of the Geno Hall." The Geno Hall's god light came beaming out. It created a weird vortex that sucked Hansen's body into it. I say, big brother, I do not want to visit your Geno Hall. I want to fight that guy now. Hansen tried his best to resist the suction, but it did not work. The Geno Hall's door covered the sky and the ground. Somehow his body was sucked into the door. Boom. The open door disappeared. The god light in the battleground vanished. The elites watching finally had their vision return. They noticed that only Crape Myrtle remained on the battlefield of the 33 skies. Hansen was gone. Sanmu lost. Tang Jinliu's face changed. On the Geno tablet, Hansen's name was erased. Only Crape Myrtle's remained, so it was fairly obvious that Hansen had lost the bout. Ji Yanran's face went so white that it looked as if she had no blood in her body. It was fine if he lost and came home, but for him to die would be extremely dire. Hansen only relied on the sacrifices of others to reach that step. When push comes to shove, his true colors show through. I thought God of Wealth was awesome. Was that all he was able to do? In the universe of kingdoms, many people were happy about the results. The Geno universe, on the other hand, remained dead silent. No one could believe Hansen had just lost like that. Another fight that went from 4-2 pitted Ancient Devil against Human King. Ancient Devil defeated Big Sky Demon to move forward and do combat with Human King. Human King looked at Ancient Devil and said, "Ancient Devil, you are God Chaos Party's vice president. Berry Path God chose to fight Qin Xiu, and Qin Xiu killed him with one hand. Do you want to replicate Berry Path God's demise? Did you beat Qin Xiu?" Ancient Devil frowned. He had always thought he would end up fighting Qin Xiu. Kind of, Human King said with a smile. Tell me, what are you going to do? If I have already come this far, so there is no reason why I should turn back now. Ancient Devil looked at Human King as he spoke. Do you think you are stronger than Qin Xiu? Human King looked at Ancient Devil with interest. I am not stronger than Qin Xiu, but I am a bit stubborn, Ancient Devil said. If I don't hit a wall, I don't turn away. I must try it. If you leave now, I can keep you alive. If you fight, I will kill you. What is your final decision? Human King quietly spoke. It was like he was having a chat with an old friend. In fact, he did not have much of a connection with Ancient Devil. Did I not already tell you that I am stubborn? I do not turn away if I do not hit a wall. To me there is no other choice. Either that or God already decided on my path on my behalf. Ancient Devil said that. He clenched his fists. Hansen was sucked through the Geno Hall's door by a strong force of suction. In the past, he had always been able to stand outside the door and see the 10,000 race lanterns burning within. He had also managed to light a lantern for the crystallizer race. This, however, was the first time he had ever set foot inside the Geno Hall. After going into the Geno Hall, the first thing he saw was the 10,000 race lanterns. The 10,000 race lanterns were organized on both sides of the hall. It gave people a strange feeling. It was like the lights on either side were guiding one's way through hell. It looked very scary. The higher races think their race lanterns are inside the Geno Hall, but they do not know their race lanterns are like street lamps. They do not receive much respect. It is fortunate they are not just trampled. Hansen walked past the race lanterns. The Geno hall was very weird. There was a big hall. When Hansen stood beyond the door, he could not see the end of the hall. There were just two sides of the race lanterns guiding the path forward. The Geno hall door was closed. Hansen was unable to go back. He had to follow the race lanterns and go forward to see exactly what it was that Mr. God wanted him to see. He said, "There is something I need here, so I wonder what that is." Hansen did not want to slow down, so he accelerated his pace and went faster. The 10,000 race lanterns were shining at a distance that was not too far away from him. Hansen did not have to walk for long before seeing the end of the race lanterns. There was a wall at the end of the race lanterns. The wall was made from an old jade carving. It was quite strange. Hansen looked at it, but he could not see the end of the wall. He also could not see the beginning of the wall. It was like the jade wall extended forever. The weirder thing was that the wall had no end. Even so, Hansen saw everything that was carved into the jade wall. The feelings were too weird to describe. The jade wall had a lot of text. When Hansen continued to examine it, he saw the familiar text, such as the words crystallizer, sky, Buddha, and other stuff. Clearly, they were the higher races that had lit up lanterns inside the Geno hall. Hansen was most curious about the fact that the jade wall had more than 10,000 words. As Hansen examined it for a while, he eventually caught sight of a familiar word, feather. Hansen remembered that the feather race had been kicked out of the higher races by Kong Fei. Why would the feather still be featured on the jade wall? Does this mean that whoever becomes a higher race can forever remain on this jade wall? Hansen looked around. He saw many familiar and strange texts, but he never once saw the word human. That made him sad. Stop looking. There aren't any humans on the jade wall. A voice sounded in Hansen's ear. A familiar shadow appeared on the jade wall. It was standing next to Han Sr. "It is you. Who was that in the 33 Skies arena?" When he saw this person, Hansen was given a shock. It was the Mr. God he used to know. Chapter 34-39 Evolving Wall. "Don't be too surprised," God said with a laugh. "I am the Geno hall leader. I cannot allow everyone to know I actually joined the Geno tablet fights. Finding a doppelganger to stand in for me is not too difficult." Hansen understood that the Geno hall and Geno tablets relationship was like the ruling party and opposition party. The Geno hall leader was the real president. Allowing another president to join the election for another party was very inappropriate. "Is Crape Myrtle another one of your names?" Hansen asked. God shook his head. "No. Crape Myrtle is my real name. It's just that no one knows that." "I say, big brother Crape Myrtle, what are you supposed to be doing with me? Why did you pull me into the Geno hall now of all times?" Hansen was not in much of a mood for spending time idle chit-chatting with Crape Myrtle. Crape Myrtle said, "With your power, it might not be enough to beat that person. So until you can learn how to control your body, I do not recommend that you fight him." "If I do not fight, it is Bao'er who will end up fighting him," Hansen said. "Therefore you do not have much time," Crape Myrtle said. "That is why we must begin now." "What do you mean?" Hansen could guess what was going on, but he did not know precisely what Crape Myrtle was going to do. Crape Myrtle pointed at the jade wall and asked, "Do you know why the universe of kingdoms doesn't have race lanterns but has god temples, and why the Geno universe has race lanterns but no god temples?" "I would like to know the answer to that," Hansen told him. "Energy transferal comes from yin and yang." Crape Myrtle smiled and said, "In layman's terms, when you eat a cake, you do not shit out a cake." Hansen looked at Crape Myrtle with a frozen expression. He could not believe a person like Crape Myrtle could speak in such a crude manner. Cough. Cough. "I once heard this from a very interesting person while I was traveling. It may be very crude, but it does make sense." Crape Myrtle coughed and went on to say, "The reincarnation of two universal lives are the same. The two universal lives have yin and yang. Although yin and yang are reverses of each other, it does not have to mean the world is split between yin and yang. But if you have to separate it, which universe would you believe to be in?" After thinking for a moment, Hansen said, "The Geno universe feels a bit more like it is yin." "What makes you say that?" Crape Myrtle looked at Hansen with interest. That is because the Geno universe does not have any pure humans, Hansen said. What you are saying is correct, Crape Myrtle said. The Geno universe is more like Een, but that is not because there are no humans. It is because life there is more original. Original? Hansen did not understand Crape Myrtle. Crape Myrtle did not explain. I do not have time to explain why I do not have time to explain. You can treat it like life in the universe of kingdoms is covered in human skin. In the Geno universe, you have removed the human skin. After that, Crape Myrtle pointed at the jade wall and said, this jade wall has recorded all of the gene races that have become higher races. Of course, it is not just the names of the higher races here. It has recorded the progress of the gene race while growing up. This jade wall is called the evolution wall. You did not just bring me here to tell me about this, did you? Hansen looked at the evolution wall as he spoke. Your body has evolved differently to every other creature in this universe. That means you have lost your way, and now need to forge your own. No one can guide you. You are lost in the wild by your lonesome. I do believe this evolution wall can help you a bit though. It should at least be able to help you understand yourself some more. After Crape Myrtle said that, he put his hands against the evolution wall. A lot of text on the evolution wall was lighting up. The text released lots of God music. Every word had been normal. Now the words had flesh and bones. They had their own presence. If one looked at them once, one would never forget them. It was like it was not even text, and was something that was actually alive. When Hansen looked at the feather, he saw an angel with white wings. When he looked at the word Buddha, he saw a Buddha that looked very serious. Each word represented the God music of each race. It was not that they really existed. It was just like a stereotype of what was best for each race. While Hansen was watching, he saw the evolution wall display some text that was shining like a sun. Hansen recognized the word meant sky. It meant the sky race. The race of the sky was an offshoot of the very high. They looked fairly human-like, but they had the presence of the sky. In that prettiness, Hansen saw a man from the sky come out of the evolution wall. That man looked like Sky Palace leader. He rather looked like Yushanshin and Lone Bamboo. This man had all the benefits of the sky. He was powerful. He was evil. He was stubborn. He was fearless. He carried all of the talents of the sky that Hansen did not know in the past. The presence he released made Hansen feel as if he was superior. Crape Myrtle went on to say, the evolution wall can create the final mode of a race. Although it is just a theory and does not really exist, all creatures will follow this trace with an accuracy of 90%, unless there is ever a strange accident. Otherwise, the race's final evolution will resemble this. Hansen looked at the Sky Man and made an educated guess. He asked, is that what happened to the sky when they became universe class? No, not really. Across all of history, from ancient times until now, at least 10,000 races have managed to become a higher race. No matter how much you calculate, no one from any of these races has become universe class. Although they are different races and have different potentials, the way they can reach the highest point is different. Even if they are the greatest race from ancient times, they can only reach the God Chaos Party leader's level at best. That is still half a step away from reaching universe class. Crape Myrtle looked at the text depicting the sky and said, the talent of the sky and their potential is great. After all of these generations of evolution in the sky, if they can push their potential to the max and ultimately reach that step, even when compared to me, there would not be much of a difference. Of course, right now the sky are far away from reaching this level, so all of this is just an assumption. Hansen looked at the evolution wall and asked, do you want the evolution wall to predict the passage of my evolution? Crape Myrtle shook his head. With a wry smile he said, as a matter of fact, I have already tried. It does not work. The evolution of your genes has gone down a track no other ordinary creature has ever achieved. The power of the evolution wall does not work for your body. In that case, what are you even trying to say? Hansen did not understand what Crape Myrtle wanted. The evolution wall is useless for you, but it can predict the futures of all the other races. Crape Myrtle smiled at Hansen and said, therefore, it can be useful for you. You should try it. Do not make me wait too long. Hansen suddenly felt dizzy. He was sucked into the evolution wall. Chapter 34:40 Geno tablet fights, and the sky's shadow was becoming bigger in Hansen's eyes. A scary presence that could not be described with words was landing on Hansen. The presence was scary, but not enough to prompt a shift in Hansen's will and determination. Still, the presence of the sky still shocked Hansen, although it was just a fake character that was little more than a calculation. It was still incredibly powerful. One likely could not tell if the sky was a genuine life force or not. One could not tell it was just a shadow. Hansen did not think much. He saw another powerful shadow emerge from the god light. It was a weird man with 3 heads and 6 arms. It was a weird person, and it was one of the destroyed. This fellow from the destroyed was stronger than any destroyed elite Hansen had seen before. It was like a demon god that was standing between the sky and the ground. Its presence was very scary. It was like the sea or even like hell. It exuded a presence that suffocated Hansen one after another. Elites came out of the evolution wall releasing a strong presence on their way to Hansen. No matter how strong Hansen's will was, when there were more and more elites showing up, he started to feel pressure. If they were real elites, no matter how many there were, they could not do anything to Hansen. These were coming from the evolution wall. It was scary to see the people from those races evolve to the max of their potential. Although they had no real bodies and did not actually exist, the presence they released was nothing fake. It was like they were coming out of real bodies. Many powerful bodies showed up. Hansen felt a whole heap of pressure. And that was just the shadow of 100 races. Crape Myrtle wants to use their presence to suppress my will so it can become stronger. Hansen understood Crape Myrtle's rationale for setting up all this, but he doubted it might actually work. More and more shadows showed up. Their power was far too grand to imagine. If this was someone else in his shoes, their will would have snapped by now. Even Hansen could felt his own body was rather tense. In the battlegrounds of the 33 skies, Ancient Devil was like a demon shadow. He got close to Human King. Human King did not move. His body did not move. When the space and the will around changed, the distances separating the two appeared longer. Ancient Devil's body, which looked like a shadow, was elongated. It reached before Human King. What a shame, Human King quietly muttered. No one knew what he meant. He reached out a hand and slapped Ancient Devil, as if he was swatting a fly. The hand looked as if it covered the sky and covered the ground. Ancient Devil was unable to escape its area. Before the hand could touch Ancient Devil's body, the pressure alone was enough to explode his body and have it become black dust that scattered everywhere. It happened in one hit. Ancient Devil's body exploded, and the fight came to an end. Ancient Devil's name on the Geno tablet was wiped away, leaving only Human King's name there. Did it just end? Human King is too strong. This is the real sort of invincible elite. Compared to Hansen, this is so much worse. They are all top 4. The differences between them are still too much. In the universe of kingdoms, people were shocked. They thought Human King was extremely strong. They were surprised about his appearance. Human King had only used one hand to kill Ancient Devil. Afterward, he frowned and secretly said to himself that Ancient Devil looked as if he had a death wish. What was he doing? Boom, boom, boom. After Ancient Devil died, the final barrier of the 33 skies came down. Now all of the 33 skies could be seen. The Geno tablet that was no longer there was now seen in the arena. It was glowing with a god light. On the Geno tablet, 2 names were shining like a pair of suns. No one would have believed that those 2 would have been the final names to be displayed on the Geno tablet. There was Human King and Crape Myrtle. They were the last 2 names. They were deep in every creature's brain. They were names that were now hard to forget. Human King looked at Crape Myrtle. He also looked surprised. Clearly, he never thought the last opponent would end up being a god spirit. Crape Myrtle knew about Human King. He was not surprised to see him. Human King looked at Crape Myrtle. After a while he said, "I did not expect to see you here." Clearly, he recognized who Crape Myrtle was. Crape Myrtle looked at Human King and said, "It looks like you did not only absorb Qin Xiu, but you also have Qin Xiu's memories." Human King said, I have been planning this for years. If I could not take everything, it would have been a colossal waste of all my time and energy. And you are the Geno Hall leader, yet you join the Geno tablet fights. That must damage your reputation quite a bit. The universe was shocked. None believed Crape Myrtle was the Geno Hall leader. No way. God Hall leader joined the Geno tablet fights? People like Human King would not talk nonsense. Is that true? Is Crape Myrtle the leader of the Geno Hall? Crape Myrtle did not move. He looked at Human King and said, "It looks like you have access to everything about Qin Xiu, but you did not earn his confidence." Human King did not move. He coldly said, "I will fight when I must. When I do not need to fight, why should I waste my breath?" Human King brought attention to Crape Myrtle's identity, because he did not want to fight Crape Myrtle. Before he really walked the last step, Human King was still going to be rather afraid of Crape Myrtle. As the master of the Geno Hall, Crape Myrtle did not have what it took to be the leader of the Geno tablet. Crape Myrtle looked at Human King and said, "I only just came here. I cannot simply leave like this. Hansen took my 28 starlights, so I suspect you will do the same." Human King coldly laughed. "You know you cannot do that, so why would you even bother to try?" "I like it." Crape Myrtle curled his lips. His fingers came forward like starlight. Human King was powerful, but he was unable to dodge Crape Myrtle's finger-borne starlight. Just like Hansen, his body was pinned in place by the starlight nails. Human King was not in a rush to escape such bindings. He did not even look as if he wanted to struggle. He looked at Crape Myrtle and said, "If you like it, you can give me more starlight." Crape Myrtle smiled. He turned around and left. He quit the arena of the 33 skies. No one knew the Geno tablet fights were to end in such a way. When Crape Myrtle departed the battleground, his name was erased from the Geno tablet. All that was left behind was Human King's name. The light of the Geno tablet was very bright. Human King's name was shining brightly. The 33 skies were suddenly so noisy as if it was welcoming a new master. The starlight on Human King's body shattered. He did not go to the Geno tablet. He looked at his body and said to himself, "You might be able to stop me now, but not forever. This kind of power will only delay my ascension to walking that step by a few days. It will not stop anything. Your empire will fall." Chapter 34-41 Space Garden Fight. Human King was sitting in the 33 skies. He had become the owner of the Geno tablet, but the Geno tablet was unable to replace the Geno Hall to become the leader of the universe. He had to wait until the Geno Hall was overthrown. If there was no Geno tablet, even if one beat the Geno Hall, one could not become the universe's controller. Human King had the most basic fundamentals, so all he required was the last step. Congratulations, leader, on becoming the leader of the universe. The members of Blood Legion all bowed before Human King profusely. Countless generations of their people had given up so much in their long wait for this day. They had created Blood Legion for this purpose. Now, Human King only required one final step to become the leader of the universe. "Mr. Leader, when are we going to fight the Geno Hall?" a Blood Legion member asked with much excitement. "There is no rush for that just yet," Human King said. "Crape Myrtle destroyed my body. Although what he tried did not work, his power has made my body combine far slower. It will still take me a while to completely absorb Qin Xiu's power for me to complete that last step." "What an obscene man he was," a member madly proclaimed. "He should have known he could not ultimately stop you from becoming the Geno tablet's leader. He has been a right thorn in your backside. Wait until you walk that last step. Then you will be able to kill every last person inside that wretched Geno Hall." "He is my enemy," Human King said. "Crape Myrtle did not do anything wrong. After all, we are the ones seeking to overthrow his rule and usher in the dawn of a new age. It is understandable that he only wants to stop us from achieving that. Wait until we defeat the Geno Hall. If he wants to, I can find a position for him to work at in the 33 skies. With his power and knowledge, it would only be a big boon for Blood Legion. Of course, he is a prideful man. I suspect he would sooner choose death than obey me." An old member, with lots of white hair, came forward to bow before Human King. "You are right. Only doing that can show Blood Legion is actually quite reasonable. When I control under the sky, I am willing to be the spokesperson. I will convince Crape Myrtle to join our legion. There is no rush, Human King said with a squint of his eyes. One more thing, we must sort all of this out before we assault Geno Hall. Otherwise, there will be trouble. What thing? All the members looked at Human King with curiosity. They did not know that, aside from the Geno Hall, there could be someone else that might challenge their rule of the universe. Hansen has a daughter called Bao'er, isn't that correct? Human King looked at God's Retribution. God's Retribution's heart froze. He bowed and said, yes. Hansen has a daughter, Han Bao'er. Out of all of his children, I would think she is his favorite one. She is the one who is always around him. What is it? God's Retribution may have said all of this, but he still felt a profound worry in his heart. The leader is asking about Bao'er. Does he want to do something bad to Hansen? Human King coldly said that Han Bao'er has always been around 5 years old. She has never grown up, isn't that right? Yes, that is right, God's Retribution said with a nod. Even if he wanted to help Hansen, he could not lie to his superior. The things Human King wanted to know about Bao'er were too obvious. In that case, it must be right, Human King said. We have to find Han Bao'er. Bring her to me. God's Retribution wondered how he might be able to find out what it was Human King was looking to do. It was fortunate another member was willing to inquire out loud. Mr. Leader, why do you need Hansen's child? I do not mean to bring Hansen any harm. That girl is not Hansen's real daughter anyway. She is the daughter of the last Geno Hall leader, and the leader of the God Chaos Party. She is a big threat to Blood Legion's rule. Therefore, we must take steps to remove her. Human King did not hide his intent. He talked about Bao'er's history openly next. Is that who Bao'er is? Everyone was shocked after hearing this. They all agreed they should capture Bao'er. You guys still need to adjust to your new powers, Human King coldly said. You do not need to go. God Chaos Party is currently under my control. Just let them go. He did not think anyone would be able to kill Bao'er, but he needed someone to force Bao'er out of hiding. Only then could Bao'er be erased. You guys should go back now. If there is nothing important you require of me, do not disturb me. I must focus on working on the last step. Human King waved his hand and told everyone to depart. When all the other members were gone, Human King said to himself, if I had not received Qin Xiu's memories, I would not have known Hansen had a daughter like that. That Qin Xiu was so arrogant. He did not even realize what kind of dangerous being there was out there. I will not make the mistake he would have. I will have Bao'er under control long before I achieve control of the Geno Hall. Human King had access to all of Qin Xiu's memories. He knew Bao'er was currently in the sanctuaries. Blood Legion came from the sanctuaries, but they could never return to the sanctuaries. If they wanted to capture Bao'er, they would have to do it in Space Garden and force Bao'er to come out of the sanctuaries. Things in Space Garden were not the best right now, and that was mainly because Hansen had gone missing following his battle against Crape Myrtle. Although Mr. White assured everyone that Hansen was not dead, people were still worrying a lot about his welfare. It seemed Calm had returned to the universe. Human King had the Geno tablet. The big fight could be triggered at any second. No one had the mood to do anything. Little uncle, your power is so strong. Why are you still single? If I was you, I would marry many women. I would go for all the pretty ones. I would have the prettiest women from the dragon, and even from the sky. Tang Zhenliu looked at Wang Yuhang with profound jealousy. He was practicing with Wang Yuhang. He could not fight Wang Yuhang though. It was like fighting Wang Yuhang was a big crime. Wang Yuhang moved his lips, but he did not say anything. He shook his head. To get a woman with that power, to me, would be like getting myself a sex doll. You might like a sex doll, but I do not like that. Tang Zhenliu wished to say something to counter that, but he suddenly heard a boom. It was like a huge hole had formed in the sky. The whole of Space Garden tremored. Fuck. Who is so ballsy that they have come to meddle with Space Garden? Tang Zhenliu was very angry. He looked at the sky and saw the sky was full of space battleships that were breaking down Space Garden's defenses. They were headed for Space Garden. Many scary creatures were flying next to the ships. There were some leaders from the 33 skies too. Tang Jinliu had seen many of these people before. He recognized that they once belonged to God Chaos Party. Wang Yuhang's and Tang Jinliu's faces changed. God Chaos Party has gone nuts. Why are they attacking Space Garden? In Space Garden, Ningyu Huangfujing, Xieqing King, Very High Leader, Sky Palace Leader, and the others all emerged. Many of the elites looked up at the sky filled with battleships and frightening creatures. They did not know what was going on. Chapter 34-42 Fighting the battleships and scary creatures were covering the sky and the daylight. It was like the whole of Space Garden was now covered in clouds. Where is Hansen? Amidst the many scary creatures, someone walked forward. It was Ichi. He looked down on Space Garden and boomed his voice like rolling thunder. The whole of Space Garden quaked in response. Han Yufei stood in front of everyone else and spoke up to him. Han-san is not here in the garden. Just tell us what you wish to say to him. Ichi cold replied. My master has commanded me to come here. We are here to reclaim the Geno Hall bloodline. Han Yufei squinted her eyes and responded. If you want the Geno Hall bloodline, go knock on the Geno Hall's door. Why come out here to bother us in Space Garden? Do you not know Hansen's daughter, Han Bao'er, is not actually his daughter? Ichi asked. She has a bloodline connected to the Geno Hall. My master told me that because we are the same kind, if you hand over Han Bao'er, we will not do anything to damage the prosperity of Space Garden. You will be free to remain here in Space Garden. And what if we don't? Han Yufei looked like she was smiling, but she wasn't smiling. In this world, having another Space Garden will not be much, Ichi said. Having less of a Space Garden does not constitute less. Even if Space Garden is deleted, another faction will only replace it. We do not truly care for the existence of Space Garden. Tang Jinliu was so angry that he wished to say something, but Han Yufei spoke first. That is Hansen's child. She has nothing to do with us. If you want her, go ahead and take her. But what I utterly despise is seeing someone with the audacity to threaten me. Now that you have spoken your piece, I have decided not to give it to you. I would like to see how you fare in destroying Space Garden. Not bad. If you truly have what it takes to destroy Space Garden, stop talking crap. Tang Jinliu followed with a shout. You must have a death wish. Ichi coldly grunted. He no longer wished to speak. He waved his hand and had many ships and scary creatures begin a crazy assault on Space Garden. A battleship opened its doors to release many breakworld beasts from the holds of the ship. They were like wolves that had been starved for months and were now free to go wild on the sheep pen that was Space Garden. Many breakworld beasts were in Space Garden. There were 100 of them. Boom. Space Garden had a Bysema that was created from a spell. It stopped the attack of the breakworld beasts, but the Bysema was then attacked by all kinds of breakworld beasts. It kept flickering. It looked like it was going to break any time. Get ready to fight. Han Yufei coldly grunted. She looked toward the base. The breakworld beasts were very shocking to witness. Space Garden had the power to fight, but Space Garden itself could not take on a fight that would be this big. If people started to fight, the place would only fall apart. Aside from the elites, the ordinary people in Space Garden would undoubtedly die. The Space Garden's Bysema had been established by Mr. White. Only Mr. White knew if it would hold. Send for Linfeng. You guys focus on the fight and do not worry about anything else, Mr. White said to Han Yufei. It made Han Yufei feel much calmer. In that case, let's fight. Han Yufei made a command. Tang Jinliu, who wanted to fight so badly, broke space. He pulled out a knife and went straight for the Bysema and attacked a breakworld beast. Before his knife could reach that breakworld beast, a sky full of green feathers came down like a rain of arrows. Every green feather pierced through the bodies of the breakworld beasts and killed them. 100 breakworld beasts were swiftly eliminated. A quiet man wearing green feathers for clothing was sitting in space. It was Ningyu. 9 real, he is yours. Ichi spoke to a breakworld beast. The breakworld beast was like a white tiger. It was not big, but it was bigger than an ordinary tiger. It was resting atop a ship. It heard Ichi's command and woke up from its slumber lazily. It looked at Ningyu and returned to sleep. Seeing the white tiger not listen to his commands, Ichi was annoyed. There was nothing he could do about it. He spoke to a big black bird and said, "Fish bird, go and kill him." The big black bird looked cold. It flapped its wings and flew from the ship. It was like a black bolt of lightning that could split the sky and the ground. It was going right for Ningyu. "You guys stop chilling. We should let them know the true power of the God Chaos Party." When Ichi made a command, many battleships opened their doors. Many breakworld beasts came pouring out. There had to have been at least 1,000 of them. Ningyu's body glowed with a green light. All of the green feathers were like sword lights, and they were flying. They looked as if they were going to kill the breakworld beasts. Before his light feathers flew out, many inky feathers fell from the sky. They turned his green feathers into shattered pieces. They crumbled and slowly fell. Ningyu saw the big black fish bird and frowned. He sensed that the fish bird possessed a scary power inside it. Seeing Ningyu stop and not be able to take out any more breakworld beasts, Han Yufei and the others emerged from the Bysema. They went out there to fight the breakworld beasts. Suddenly, the sky and the ground became incredibly dark. The shockwaves from the fighting were everywhere. Although the fights were intense, no matter how scary the powers were or how powerful the shockwaves were, the Bysema shielding space garden did not break. On the top floor of the base, Lin Feng saw Mr. White standing in front of the chess game. He was confused and asked, "Mr. White, why did you call me here?" "Come, play a game of chess with me," Mr. White said as he pointed at the chessboard. Lin Feng was shocked. He did not know what Mr. White was meaning. After all, why would he favor playing chess at a time like that? But Lin Feng understood Mr. White. He knew he was a man who took things seriously, so there had to be a reason why he was behaving this way. He sat down across from Mr. White. There were already chess pieces laid out across the chessboard. It was set up in a check. Lin Feng had a look around the board. The black chess pieces he had were in bad shape already. "It is your turn." Mr. White laughed after putting down a chess piece. Lin Feng nodded and picked up a chess piece. He followed the chessboard with his eyes. It was at that moment his face changed. The chessboard felt as if it had an incredible amount of power surging through it. Where he wanted to put the chess piece down had a power rise from the space. It made his hand and the chess piece bounced away. Lin Feng almost coughed up blood. It seemed as if Mr. White expected this to happen. He slowly said, "Slow down. Use your super god spirit body to feel the power of the chessboard. What you need to do is use your power to adjust the strength. Borrow the east and fill up the west. Do not fight against it." Lin Feng understood the chessboard was connected to the Bysema that was shielding Space Garden. Mr. White wanted him to hold it. Chapter 34-43 Fairy. A shocking number of breakworld beasts had come. They were like dark clouds blanketing the sky, unceasing in their advance. Wang Yuhang was riding his bike out of the Bysema. He was already in his ultimate super god spirit mode. His entire body was so pretty to look at. Wherever the bike was, a bloody cascade came falling as the breakworld beasts started to rip each other to shreds. Tang Junliu was having fun watching. He laughed and said, "Good job, little uncle. Is this all the God Chaos Party can throw at us? What was the point of bringing in all of those breakworld beasts? With little uncle here, if 1,000 come, 1,000 will die. If 10,000 come, 10,000 will die. Interesting. There is no 1,000 or 10,000. There is only me. How are you guys going to kill me?" An evil and seductive voice rang through space. There was a weird woman with 2 heads on the approach. She stopped Wang Yuhang's advance. The breakworld beasts that were killing each other under the influence of Wang Yuhang's power had their eyes turn red. Now they all jumped toward Wang Yuhang. Wang Yuhang was shocked by the reversal of allegiance. He knew he had encountered a mighty foe. He madly exploded his super hormone, seeking to turn things around quickly. The breakworld beasts around were affected by Wang Yuhang and the lady with 2 heads. Their eyes kept turning red, going crazy nonstop. They would jump to Wang Yuhang, and then they would jump to the 2-headed woman. The woman with 2 heads had a face that was very seductive and another face that looked very cold. but they felt as if they had magical powers. They were trying to fight back and gain control of the break-world beasts to overthrow the grip Wang Yuhang had on the creatures. Some break-world beasts went crazy because of the constant flipping of emotions. They went crazy so that they started ripping up their own bodies. Their bodies became pieces and chunks. They tore themselves up so much that their bones showed, yet they still would not stop. It has been so long since I last encountered an opponent that posed a challenge, the pretty face said. You should remember my name, for my name is Shelley. The body of the woman came for Wang Yuhang. Wang Yuhang and Shelley started to fight. They did not have the time to notice other things. The break-world beasts around them were still affected though. The other break-world beasts beyond those, however, were headed for the Bysema around Space Garden. Huang Fujing rushed out of the Bysema. She teleported in front of a break-world beast. She used her long legs like a bat leaks to cut the break-world beast in half. The white tiger opened its eyes. Before Ichi could speak again, it stood up. It looked at Huang Fujing and moved its legs and vanished. When it appeared again, it was directly in front of Huang Fujing. Pang! Huang Fujing's heart jumped. She lifted her arms. The moment she moved, the white tiger showed up with its claws coming down against Huang Fujing. If she hadn't been a second quicker, the claws would have shredded her eyes. The two powers attacked. Space around started to crack. Even the bodies of the break-world beasts around were breaking. The scary attacks had started, and Space Garden's powerful elites were already fighting. There were still many creatures in Space Garden that were simply watching the battle unfold. That included the very high and Sky Palace students. The Sky Palace students in particular were feeling awfully glum. Space Garden had many elites fighting there, but in Sky Palace, only Sky Palace leader could participate in the combat. We of Sky Palace were once the best in the universe, but now we must rely on the protection of others. A Sky Palace elder let out a sigh. In fact, this was what most of the Sky Palace students were thinking. They all felt very sad. While they were feeling sad and complaining, two shadows from the Sky Palace camp, a black and a white one, arose. They departed the safety of the Bysema and plunged into the break-world beast horde. It is Lone Bamboo and Yushanshin. When the Sky Palace students saw those two, they become incredibly happy. Yes, we of Sky Palace have Lone Bamboo and Yushanshin in our midst. They are no weaker than the elites of Space Garden. Seeing Lone Bamboo and Yushanshin in the middle of all those beasts, they saw that one of them had a very sharp sword light. The other wielded a very light jade finger. They were no worse than the elites in Space Garden. People were very happy about their presence there. Ji Yanran was holding Linger, but she looked worried. Space Garden had many elites, but God Chaos Party had many more break-world beasts and elites. They watched the break-world beasts come without reprieve. Many break-world beasts kept coming. They kept trying to bring down the Bysema. Little Gold, take care of my mother and my little sister. Littleflower spoke to Golden Growler, who was next to Ji Yanran. He turned to Ji Yanran and said, Mother, the situation is awfully glum. I am going into battle. Be careful. Fight what you can, but run away if it becomes too much. That is the Han family tradition. Do not bring us any embarrassment. Ji Yanran touched Littleflower on the head. Mother, do not worry. In this world, there are no other people that can take our lives. After saying that, Littleflower broke space and departed. His body glowed with white light. He looked like another person. He did not look young. His white, long hair was floating like a battle god was descending. The moment he rushed out of the Bysema, Littleflower moved his hand. Time and space started to change. The break-world beasts that were going to Space Garden suddenly turned around. They struck the other break-world beasts. I have heard that the holy body's time and space power is invincible. Today, I, Ichi, am going to learn of it. Ichi traveled through time and stopped Littleflower's assault. The space fight was not stopping. It made the universe collapse. Stars were breaking. Aside from the Bysema that was protecting Space Garden, space around was an utter mess. It was like the end of the world. In the evolution wall, Hansen was suffering under the duress of so much pressure. His body was not breaking, but his soul was not something unbreakable. The spirits of many different races showed up from all inches of the evolution wall. There had to be at least 30,000 of them. Hansen received pressure from 30,000 different powers. His will was so tense that it was like steel. It looked as if he was going to break at any second. If this was another creature, their will would have been crushed. They would be turned into an idiot. Right now, the whole concept of Hansen not yet going nuts was something of a miracle. Beneath that pressure, his body had yet to move. He still could not trigger his body's power to combine with his will and soul. Did Crape Myrtle want to turn me into an idiot? Hansen knew that it would not be possible, but he still felt as if his will was yearning to snap. He was not a god. He was just a human. Humans had their limits. Hansen felt as if his will was going to be pushed too far beyond his limit. Suddenly, the evolution wall displayed a new race. It lit up. The name was brighter than the name of any other race. It was like a bright moon amidst a sea of stars. It was so pure. Fairy. When Hansen saw the word, he was shocked. Hansen knew what the word meant, but there were two possibilities. First, it was the jade spirit fairies that were made from chaos. The other had a chance of being scarier. That word might have meant the god Chaos Party leader. To be accurate, only the god Chaos Party leader was a fairy. The jade holy fairies were just some products Chaos had created. Chapter 3444. A way Chaos was born in the Geno universe. Was she able to light up a lantern in the Geno hall? If that was the case, that should be something so scary. Hansen was shocked. His will was going to break soon. If the word fairy meant chaos, then the power must have been unimaginable. She surely would have been the creature closest to that step. From within that god light, a woman who looked like a fairy and a jade started to come. She stepped out of the dust cloud. Holy was not a word that could be used to describe her anymore. It was like she was the most spiritual being in all of the universe. Every inch and every centimeter of her body, and even the garments she wore, were very elegant. The aura she exuded was truly out of this world. Her appearance made Hansen's very tense will become weaker. He was like a rubber band that was now being pulled to the max. It was going to snap any second. Crape Myrtle said that on the evolution wall, no creature had ever managed to reach the universe class. If that is true, what could possibly be up with this fairy? Her powers are still so strong. She is better than any other creature I have ever encountered. But can a creature this mighty not have reached universe class yet? Hansen was shocked by the power he was witnessing. His will was becoming overwhelmed. If the fairy's power came down, Hansen would be unable to hold it. If his will broke, even if he did not turn into an idiot, he would lose all of the confidence he had in himself and any faith he had in his abilities of combat. For a fighter, that was the worst possible outcome. Power was the foundation of an elite, but courage was the soul of an elite. Without a soul, having a powerful body meant very little. It meant one would just be a weak person with very powerful power. While Hansen was still mulling all of this over, the fairy woman's power descended. Crape Myrtle, you just got me killed. If you turn me into an idiot, I will curse your son so he does not have a penis. Hansen cursed him, but he had to focus if he wanted to fight back against that scary power. Boom. When the power descended, Hansen's brain felt as if it had exploded. It was very oppressive. It was rather like a river. It kept hitting his mental dam, which seemed as if it was going to break any second now. Space Garden was fighting back against the enemy tide as hard as they could. Their resilience was far greater than the elders of the God Chaos Party could have anticipated. Just a small number of Space Garden's forces were able to repel and break the advance of God Chaos Party's many elites and break-world monsters. Many break-world beasts attacked, but they too were repelled. This is so scary. This is just a small amount of Space Garden's whole power. There are so many break-world elites in their ranks. If they keep developing, God Chaos Party might not be able to rein them in and keep them on a leash. Mr. Leader is so smart. He could already understand the threat of Space Garden, and he has already sought their removal. That might indeed be the case, but we have already sent out God Chaos Party's entire forces. Yet, we still have not been able to capture Space Garden. Should we call upon the leader to help us out? Inside a battleship, a few God Chaos Party elders were discussing matters in a private meeting. An elder said, "No. Human King has only just become the Geno tablet's master. He has become the master. If I cannot do this without his involvement, he will not make use of me anymore. But if you do not ask for help, even if you do get Space Garden, most of God Chaos Party will be dead." Another elder said, disagreeing with the last one, "There will be very little left of us. With our current power, how are we supposed to secure an important seat in our party?" "The two of you are right in your own way," said another elder with a bird face. "We have to do this, but we cannot give up all of our wealth." Bird Elder, you are the one with the most creative ideas here. What do you propose we do to combine both of these ideas? Every elder looked at the bird-like elder. Bird Elder laughed. "Our mission is to get Hansen's stepdaughter, Han Bao'er, out of there. Mr. Leader never told us to destroy Space Garden, so why are we doing things this way? Is there a difference between them? In Space Garden, these guys are going to protect Hansen's stepdaughter. If we do not defeat Space Garden, how can we force Han Bao'er out of there?" The elder from earlier did not understand, so he asked for clarification. Bird Elder lifted his lips and said, "You guys have been alive for so long. Have you also become dogs in that time? Before you came, did you not spend time investigating the Hansen family?" "Bird Elder, why don't you just hurry up and spill the beans?" a grumpy elder asked while looking at Bird Elder with displeasure. "We are all elders, so there is no need to hide things." Bird Elder took a deep breath and said, "From what I know, Hansen has 2 daughters. He also has a few stepdaughters. Han Bao'er is the one who is loved the most. She is treated as well as a biological one. If I had a stepdaughter who was that excellent, I would also treat her as well as a biological daughter," an elder said while lifting his lips. "When she grew up, our family would reap all sorts of glories." Bird Elder coughed. "This has nothing to do with what I am saying. What I want to say is that Hansen and Han Bao'er have a great relationship. They are like a real father and daughter. And that isn't with just Hansen either. Even Hansen's wife treats Han Bao'er like a real mother would. Hansen's children are treated like real siblings by Han Bao'er too. We do not actually require Space Garden. All we must do is capture Hansen's family. Then, Han Bao'er will be willing to do everything." "Why should we only capture Hansen's wife and daughter?" an elder asked with confusion. Bird Elder pointed at Littleflower, who was in the middle of fighting Itchy, and said, "That is Hansen's biological son. If you think you can capture him, then go and capture him." An elder went to have a look. He squeezed his neck. Someone as terrifying as Itchy was actually getting bullied by Littleflower. If it was not for other God Chaos Party members helping him out, he would have died by now. He did not dare to try to capture that boy. Bird Elder watched him stop talking and said, "All of the elites are out now. They have left Space Garden, leaving the place empty and unprotected. We should slip inside now and capture Hansen's wife and daughter. If we do that, it is our best chance at success." But the Space Garden's Bysema is weird. Many break-world beasts have been attacking it for so long, yet they have been unable to break it. How are we supposed to gain access? A bunch of elders looked at Bird Elder weirdly, knowing he would have a way around this. He should have had a suggestion to gain access. "That is easy," Bird Elder said. "Of course we cannot get inside, but don't forget that a special break-world beast came with us. A Bysema beast can only go through Bysema. They cannot break the Bysema though. What is the point of it going in alone? This Bysema beast has only just managed to break the world. It is not very strong. Any break-world elite in Space Garden will be able to kill it." Bird Elder laughed. "We can have someone go into the Bysema beast's belly, so they are smuggled into Space Garden." Chapter 3445 Assassinate. There might be a way, but who are we going to send in there? An elder asked. The God Chaos Party elites were attacking Space Garden. It seemed as if sounding the retreat would not be the right course of action. "This is the sky reward," Bird Elder said. "We cannot give it to someone else. I do not think there are any break-world elites left in Space Garden. If there were, they would not allow the break-world beasts to attack the Bysema. So the Bysema beast should be able to do this itself. But the reward will go to the Bysema beast. Perhaps we will not receive any of the benefits. We must go there by ourselves, so we can get a reward from Mr. Leader. When people heard what Bird Elder was going to go, they felt rather hesitant. They were all elders of the God Chaos Party and very strong, but they had lived for far too long. Normally, creatures that lived for such a long period of time cherished their lives. They would let themselves live 1 billion years and cherish their life greatly. So they were God Chaos Party elders, but they were not the main members. When Human King asserted control of the God Chaos Party, he did not have much in the way of manpower. That was why they were used. Otherwise, no one would have wanted them to attack Space Garden. Of course, there was another reason. Many core members of the God Chaos Party had betrayed the organization. Berry Path God had been absorbed by Qinxiu's hands, and Rocky D was missing. There were not many people to use. If you guys do not want to come along, I will go alone. But you will not be able to quarrel over who the reward belongs to. Bird Elder coldly laughed. Fine. I will go with you. An elder moaned. He gnashed his teeth and decided to shoulder the risk with him. 5 more elders quickly agreed to join. They summoned the Bicema beast. The 5 of them hid themselves inside the Bicema beast. The Bicema snuck into Space Garden while the chaos was happening. Mr. White was still playing chess with Lin Feng. His heart jumped. Something must have happened. His fingers were holding a chess piece. His other hand was holding several other chess pieces. He threw them down on the table. He looked at a few of the chess pieces and frowned. Is it good or bad? If it is bad, it will be unable to be dodged. It is hard to predict if this is good or bad. Mr. White, is something wrong? Lin Feng asked. Nothing. Let's just keep playing chess and defend this place, Mr. White said. He looked at Ji Yanran, the mother and daughter. Ji Yanran was holding Linger. She was watching the fight going on up there. She was not very good when it came to combat, so she did not chip in. Little Gold laid down next to Ji Yanran. Ever since something happened in Space Garden, he had not left. It was like it had decided to perpetually sleep where it was. Suddenly, the sleeping Little Gold opened its eyes. It raised its head. It looked in a certain direction outside of the base. Ji Yanran noticed Little Gold's odd behavior, so she asked Little Gold, what is going on? Little Gold did not answer her. He stood up and continued looking in a certain direction. On the other side, Little Silver, Little Cat, the Little Red Bird, and the other pets of the Han family were all resting. They all stood up and went to stand next to Ji Yanran, the mother and the daughter. Bird Elder is so smart, said a God Chaos Party elder said who was sitting on the Bicema beast's back. He was laughing like a madman. The Space Garden elites are all out. I cannot feel the presence of any Break World elites right now. We are going to get a big reward for doing this. Space Garden's Break World elites, the ones who were able to combat the threat, were already out. Now all that remained were the students. Not even the strongest student had managed to break the world yet. They saw a beast that looked like a big dragon come, and it gave them all a shock. Their reactions were not slow. They used their powers to repel and slow the beast, but their powers were not sufficient to touch the body of the beast. An elder was sitting atop the back of the Bicema beast. He was going to attack. He was going to kill the Space Garden student, but Bird Elder stopped him. Ignore them, Bird Elder said. Focus on the matter at hand. Killing these guys will be easy. We can come back and mop the floor with them later. He then commanded the big beast to go to the yard Ji Yanran was in. He had learned where Ji Yanran lived a long time ago. He had formed this idea a long time ago. No. They are going to the yard where the leader is. Many of the students of Space Garden were all in shock. They really wanted to stop the big beast now. But their power was too small before the might of the Bicema beast. They would not even be able to touch the body of the Bicema beast. The Bicema beast was able to go through everything and head for Hansun and Ji Yanran's house. Boom. Boom. The whole of the house was broken down by the Bicema beast's body. The house was shattered. Ji Yanran ran out of the house while clutching Linger. Are they Hansen's wife and daughter? An elder caught sight of Ji Yanran and Linger. When he did, his eyes turned bright. Yes, that is them. Bird Elder was very excited by the sight too. If he captured them, Han Bao'er was sure to emerge. Bysema beast, I command you to swallow them. The elder that controlled the Bysema beast gave out an order. He wanted the Bysema beast to swallow Ji Yanran, the mother and the daughter. After that, they would hastily depart Space Garden. The Bysema beast had only just opened its mouth when a gold light came from everywhere. A giant, big beast appeared from space. It was far bigger than the Bysema beast. It swallowed the Bysema beast. Bird Elder and the other elders were in shock. They all evaded the strike. The Bysema beast was far too slow to move out of the way, so it ended up getting bitten and chewed up by the big gold beast. It swallowed all of its skin and bones. What is going on? Since when did Space Garden harbor such a powerful creature? An elder was in shock as he looked at Bird Elder. Bird Elder looked at Golden Growler angrily and said, Hansen's wife and daughter have a powerful creature looking over them. Stop talking crap. The Bysema beast is gone. We cannot get out now. We have no choice but to take down Hansen's wife and daughter. The 5 of us must work together. If we do, we can make that big gold beast fall. Just kill it. Bird Elder seemed to expect this would happen, otherwise, he would not have wanted to bring other elders to reap his rewards. The other elders knew it was too late for them to bail, so they gnashed their teeth to fight alongside Bird Elder. Although their guts were small, and they were afraid to die, their power was still with them. The power they wielded was very scary. 5 scary powers went for Golden Growler. Golden Growler came before Ji Yanran and emitted a gold light. It fired a stream of gold light to strike the 5 incoming powers. Boom! Golden Growler's body was blasted backward a little. He almost hit Ji Yanran and Linger, the mother and the daughter, but his body suddenly stopped. Bird Elder and the others were both shocked and happy. Individually in the God Chaos Party, their 5 powers would have been rated from between medium and high. When used together, their 5 powers were enough to beat back the Gold Big Beast. The Gold Big Beast's power was very scary. They were happy their 5 powers could suppress the Big Gold Beast, so that made them feel much safer. Chapter 3446 Must Save Her Little Gold. Linger saw Golden Growler's mouth was bleeding blood. Now Bird Elder and his people were unleashing more scary powers her way. She screamed. Golden Growler ignored the blood that was oozing from his mouth. His eyes were shining gold. He opened up his mouth again. This time, when the mouth opened, it did not release a scary gold light. He was spitting out a golden door. Bird Elder did not care much for the presence of the golden door. They had seen many weird powers over the course of their lifetime, but they had not seen golden doors before. Even creatures that could use their powers to create castles were something they had witnessed in the past. They had seen an awful lot. Without hesitation, they increased the voltage of their outgoing powers. They attacked the golden door Golden Growler was releasing. Boom! The 5 powers that could destroy the sky and the ground crashed into the door. It made the golden door echo with sound, but their powers could not break open the golden door. Bird Elder and the 5 people were all shocked. One elder looked weirded out and asked, "How is such a thing possibly possible? With the power used by all 5 of us elders, not even someone like Ichi, if he were to generate a time door, would be unable to resist our might. We could break down his time doors, so how can this golden door not be broken with ease? What kind of power is this creature using?" Bird Elder thought something must have been wrong about this too. Before they could do anything, there was a sudden catch-a noise. The 5 elders were shocked. They looked at the golden door that did not appear to be ajar. A golden light came out from beyond the golden door. It was like the waning light at sunset, and it was seeping out from the gap between the door and the door frame. Before Bird Elder and the others could react, wherever the gold light shone on, that space was turned into nothing. Bird Elder, who was a powerful existence, immediately melted beneath the force of that golden light. He did not even have a chance to scream about his demise. The Break World elites that had a Break World rate of at least 95% vanished completely. There was no trace of them left behind. Little gold, it is fine. You can put the golden door away now. Ji Yanran shouted at Golden Growler. She knew what would happen if the golden door was opened completely. The whole of Space Garden would undoubtedly be destroyed. Fortunately, Golden Growler seemed to be aware of this. He did not really open the golden door. He swallowed the golden door back down. The students going into the house were relieved. Last time, when Little Gold opened the golden door, many students saw the scary scene. When the golden door opened up, Human King, in the 33 skies, opened his eyes. He looked surprised. How is that possible? How can they possess this power? That is impossible. Human King's face looked more and more shocked. His heart jumped, and his eyes started to spin. It was like a view of the whole universe was now inside him. When Human King saw the golden door unleash its gold light, his body quaked. His eyes flashed strangely. Is such a thing even possible? Does this universe truly have a creature like this? Behind the golden door is there. Human King's face kept changing a long time later. Human King looked as if he had come to a decision. He stepped out of the 33 skies. The whole of Space Garden had become a butcher's landscape. Crazy killing and dead life were now everywhere. White bones and bloody chunks were strewn across the land, far and wide. There was the sound of broken bones and gushing blood filling the acoustic soundscape. In a raging, crazy fight, it was not that scary. Instead, it gave people a hot and blood-boiling rush. Littleflower's clothes were white, but his eyes were red. He did not know how many Breakworld beasts he had killed by this point, but there were more and more Breakworld beasts coming. It was like their numbers were infinite. It was not just Littleflower in such a state. All of the elites from Space Garden were soaked in blood. It was their own blood, but also mixed with even more of the enemy's blood. The eyes of the elites of the God Chaos Party were turning red too. Their wild side covered their senses. Only the enemy's fresh blood could cool down their own boiling blood. Suddenly, there was a shadow above Space Garden. It was like the whole battlefield was frozen. All of the creatures kept fighting. Some of them had their mouths wide open. Some of their faces were twisted. Some of them looked scared. Some of them held their faces and cried aloud. All of the creatures kept their emotions frozen from how they were only a second ago. The broken limbs and blood splatters were frozen in the air. Time seemed to have stopped. Even Ichi and Ningyu, who were powerful Break-World elites, were the same way. They were frozen and could not move. Everyone knew this was not time itself coming to a halt. If time had been stopped, their thoughts would have been stopped as well. Now they could see things and think. They could just not move their eyes. Human King. Ningyu saw the frozen body emerge. His eyes went smaller as he did. Human King came from space. It was like he was the only living thing left in the universe. Everything else was completely silent. Even the powerful elites that had a break-world rate of 100% appeared dead in front of him. Tang Jinliu saw Human King too. He really wanted to scream. "Let me go. Fight me if you have the balls to." But he could not even move his teeth. He could not provoke the man. Human King did not look at them. He merely walked forward. He ignored the God Chaos Party's people and their assault as if they did not actually exist. He kept walking to Space Garden. Space Gardens by Sema did not work on Human King. It was like there was only air there, and he was simply able to walk inside the floral realm. Inside Space Garden, everything had come to a standstill. Every creature had strangely stopped moving. They watched Human King walk to Han Sen's house. When Human King came, Bao'er, who was currently in the sanctuaries, felt her heart jump. She stopped whatever she was doing. "Why have you frozen? Keep practicing. You have not yet succeeded. You must learn how to combine with the gene seed." Chaos saw Bao'er stop completely. She frowned and hurried her. "I need to go to the Geno universe," Bao'er said while lowering her head. "Baby, you can't go back yet," Chaos said. "Mom promises you that once you have succeeded in combining with this, you can go wherever you want to." Bao'er raised her head. She looked certain as she spoke word by word. "I am going back to the universe now, with or without your permission." "Why?" Chaos was shocked. This was the first time she had ever witnessed Bao'er talk to her in such a way. "It is because my mother is in danger and I must save her," Bao'er said. She then ran to the door. She did not hesitate. "But I am right here," Chaos said. Her face instantly changed. She understood the mother she was referring to was not her. It was Han Sen's wife, Ji Yanran. Chapter 3447 Human King descends in Space Garden. Human King walked alone and approached the remnants of a collapsed house. Ru, Jian ran and a bunch of pets were stuck inside that house. Golden Growler did not seem to be completely frozen. He stopped before Jian ran and looked at Human King, who was coming. He made some roaring and hostile sounds to stay his approach. It was like he was warning Human King not to enter the small garden. This really is unique. Human King looked at Golden Growler. He walked to the little yard. Roar! Golden Growler appeared to be a little afraid of this new nemesis, but he still managed to roar threateningly and allow a door to rise up from out of his mouth. Although he was not completely frozen, because of the effect of Human King's power, Golden Growler's motions were very slow. The golden door came out of his mouth very slowly, and it was presented before Human King to block him. Is that it? Human King looked at the golden door strangely. He did not plan on doing anything. In fact, if Human King moved first, Golden Growler would not have been able to spit out the golden door in the first place. He would have been instantly killed. The golden door had yet to open. Human King became annoyed. His heart jumped, and Golden Growler returned to normal. He was not affected by the power anymore. Roar! Golden Growler was trying to open the golden door, but his body was returning to normal. The golden door was now slightly ajar. The sunset-like gold light came out from the door and shone on Human King. When Human King saw the gold light, he raised his hand to hide his face. That gold light was like a small laser going across his body. Suddenly, his black crystal armor had a golden burn scorched right into it. That golden burn mark was expanding. It looked like it was going to burn right through the black crystal armor. Feeling the black crystal armor's painful feelings, Human King's eyes flashed wildly. He looked conflicted as he stared at the open golden door. This power. It feels like the power I felt before. When the door opens, is that the place? The angle of the golden door opened more and more. The beam of light became bigger and bigger. Human King stood before the golden light with his black crystal armor melting away. He was fading away. Wherever the gold light shone, the light turned into nothingness. Nothing could even survive it. Human King's eyes flashed. Behind his hands, he looked at the golden door. The gold light was very shiny. Even with his sense of vision, he could not see what might have been inside. Seeing the black crystal armor about to be destroyed, Human King realized he could no longer watch it. He wanted to get out and away from the golden light. Human King discovered that his body had been bound by that golden light. In a flabbergasting, totally unexpected turn of events, he discovered he was unable to teleport away from this wild force of light. He was shocked. He could not quite believe it. He could not fathom a power was capable of doing this to him. He knew he had to act fast, so he put an end to his hesitation. He moved his body as only he could. Through that movement, he went behind the golden light. Under the pressure of the gold light, not even an elite like Human King could move and break free. Even his black crystal armor had been wholly damaged by the golden light. In those parts across the armor that were receiving the light, there were scorch marks, dents, and holes all burned into the armor. Big chunks of it had been seared away. Roar! Golden Growler roared again. The golden door moved when Human King did. It kept him snared, not permitting Human King to escape the beam of light it shone on him. Human King frowned a little. He moved his will again. Suddenly, the power of the sky and the power of the ground gathered up. Golden Growler's power was affected, and he started to move slowly again. The golden door's speed slowed down. Human King quickly emerged from the area of golden light. Now the black crystal armor on Human King's body was smoking white. Some places on him were burned. A black mark was left on Human King's body. It seemed as if only a little more time was needed before Human King's body was incinerated. More shockingly than that, the Geno prototype armor, which could usually recover in a jiffy, was not recovering itself quickly at all. When Human King walked away, it was still smoking white. Some spots on it were still burning. It was like the golden light's power was still there, and unwilling to fade away. This must be the air of a growler, but the growlers should not have this power. Does this mixed growler have something special about it? Is it in his bloodline? Aside from the genes of a growler, what other genes could it possibly possess? Human King looked at Golden Growler weirdly. He kept thinking about it. With his naked eyes, he could not tell which genes the Golden Growler might have also possessed in its blood. Never mind. Let me take it back and research it. Human King teleported in front of Golden Growler. He held Golden Growler's head. Golden Growler wished to scream, but he passed out before he could do anything about it. The small golden door that was previously open was now gone. Although Human King wished to see what lurked beyond the golden door, his body could not withstand the gold light that seeped out of it. Entering it seemed as if it might be impossible. He would have to bring Golden Growler back with him first. He knocked out Golden Growler. Human King then looked at Linger and Ji Yanran and said to himself, "Since I am already here, I might as well take these with me too." God Chaos Party never had a threat that was grand enough to challenge the rule of the Geno Hall. It only makes sense. If we cannot do this small thing, the God Chaos Party will surely not survive. After that, Human King walked up to Ji Yanran. It only took him 2 steps to reach her position. He put out his hand with the intent to capture Ji Yanran. At that moment, Human King was instantly shocked. He saw a white light in Ji Yanran's chest. A transparent hand suddenly landed on her chest. Human King's pupils became smaller. He felt his soul tremble. He stumbled back and spit out some blood. He had absorbed Qin Xiu's soul and flesh. He had taken his power for himself. The flesh power was easier to combine with, but the soul power had not been obtained completely just yet. That palm was a pure soul attack. It made Human King's soul shake. The soul that had almost finished combining was nearly shattered. The voice of an angry child sounded. "Don't you dare bully little Gold and my mom." Human King saw who had hit him, and it gave him a shock. It was Han Sun and Ji Yanran's daughter. Han Linger's body was like a holy light. She was like a holy god spirit. One could not distinguish the presence of any actual flesh. Why would Han Sun have a god spirit daughter? Is this Han Linger the same as Han Bao'er? Are they from elsewhere? Human King wondered. Chapter 3448. This family with Human King's power. Even if the 12 Annihilation class main gods were to come to challenge him, there was a very high possibility that they would not be able to move freely in his presence. Han Linger did not seem to be affected by his power in the least. She stood where she was with her eyes wide open. She madly stared at Human King. Han Sen's daughters are indeed all special. Human King looked at Linger. The power in her body shifted from flesh power to a god spirit power. It was a pretty strange spectacle. It was the sort of power that typically belonged to a reboot blood pulse god spirit. Although Human King did not combine the 2 powers into one yet, using both powers was not too difficult. There was a spirit power all over his hand. His hand took on the form of a spirit. He reached out to latch onto Han Linger, but she jumped. She avoided Human King's hands. She was in the air. Her feet kicked toward Human King's head. She shouted, "Because you bullied little Gold, I will stomp you to death." Human King's movements were faster than Han Linger's. His spirit hand moved to grab Han Linger's ankle. He grabbed her ankle and pulled her down. He held on to Han Linger. Little kids that keep on fighting are not at all cute. Plus, women should be gentle. That is far more likable. Human King used God Spirit powers to trap Han Linger in place. Han Linger was no longer able to move. "Let me go. You are a bad man." Han Linger was scared, and she started to scream. She had not practiced much. She only had Han Sen's genes. She could not really beat Human King. If Human King was not prepared, her spirit power would not have damaged Human King. "If you keep screaming, I will lock you inside a coffin. You will be trapped in there for 1,000,000,000 years." Human King could not do anything to Han Linger. His power was sufficient to trap Han Linger, but he could not make Han Linger stop moving and talking. Seeing Han Linger continue to kick and scream, Human King reached out his hand with a desire to shut down Han Linger's will. Suddenly he heard another shout. "Let go of my sister." A man was there. He was wreathed in white flames as he approached. It was like he was carrying a mountain on his shoulders as his legs trembled in his slow walk forward. Upon seeing that person, Human King was given a fright. Han Sen's son Han Littleflower. What is wrong with this guy's children? Under my rules, They are still able to walk around Space Garden. Are they really Han Sen's real daughter and son? Littleflower gasped as he approached. His eyes looked as if they were on fire. He stared at Human King and shouted, "Let go of my sister. Did you not hear me?" Human King did not want to waste any more time than he had to. For watching what was inside the golden door, his Geno prototype armor had been badly damaged. It would take a long time to fix. That made his combination time need to wait even longer. Human King waved his hand. It had the power to unleash and strike Littleflower. Littleflower's body was like a mountain. He was blasted away to break the buildings around. Before Human King went to capture Ji Yanran, Littleflower came out of the ruins. He walked out again. Human King could see Littleflower's clothes had been torn. The power on his chest was broken, but when he came back, his wounds had already healed. Aside from the broken clothes, one could not see the wounds on his chest anymore. I did not want to kill you. If you really want to die, then do not take it out on me for doing what I have been tasked to do. Human King walked to Littleflower as he spoke. From what Human King could see, Han Littleflower was weaker than Han Linger. She was free from his rule power, and Han Littleflower had to walk against his rule power. That was the difference between their levels. You touched my little sister. Do you know what that makes you? It makes you my enemy. You are now an enemy of me, Han Littleflower. Plus, I have no relations with you. Han Littleflower gnashed his teeth. He walked forward. Beneath the heavy pressure put upon him, his body was still able to remain upright. The white fire on his body was burning harder. Fine. 2 is enough for me. We do not need another. Human King waved his fist. This time, Human King wanted to kill. Earlier, he just wanted to subdue him and get him to back off. He had not wanted to kill him. Pang. That punch had a power that could destroy the sky and the ground. Littleflower crossed his arms to deflect the punch, but his body looked as if it had just been hit by a scary power. A deep trench was cleaved through the ground, cutting all the buildings in half. He was batted back all the way back into a forest. It was like even the forest had been cut open. Big brother. Han Linger was in a hurry to me. She was furious, so she struggled wildly in Human King's arms. She wanted to bite Human King a little. Human King got fed up and annoyed with her. He used his hand and placed it against Han Linger's head. He sealed her 7 senses. She could no longer scream or move. He wanted to go back for Ji Yanran, but his heart suddenly jumped. He looked over in a certain direction. He peered into a forest. A scary white flame appeared. It was like a volcanic eruption that fired up into the air to break the sky. Human King's rule power did not work where the white flame had come from. The substances that were frozen were now starting to move again. Seeing Littleflower manage to emerge from the forest, it seemed as if this time, Littleflower was looking a little different. Littleflower had inherited the Super King Spirit body from Han Sun, but that did not mean he would only have the King Spirit body. Littleflower had learned Sacred Leader's holy body power, and he had also been through the sanctuaries. He had managed to level up his super gene. Because Han Sen's genes were too strong for him, he had never been able to his super spirit god body. But his power and personality were hot forces that swirled inside him. He had been waiting for a chance for his genes to break through. Get your stinking hands off her, you damn dirty man. Let my sister go. Littleflower emerged from the forest. He was not like Han Sun or Han Linger. He had evolved to obtain a spirit body. The white flame on his body became a holy shadow. It was like a holy angel that had provided shelter to his body. The feelings that were so heavy like a mountain were now gone from Littleflower's body. What replaced it was a powerful sort of holiness. What is up with this family? Is Han Sen's family not even a human family that hails from the sanctuaries? Human King looked at Littleflower. It really did make him wonder. Human King believed his evolution path was the correct way forward. He had used the Blood Pulse Sutra to refine and perfect every generation. He had completely erased the crystallizer lineage within him, which was something inside the genes of humans that hailed from the sanctuaries. He had refined World King Gods and Qin Xiu's blood to have the body he possessed now. From what he could best tell, the crystallizer's blood was cheap and useless. If Han Sun was a human from the sanctuaries, he would have the blood of a crystallizer. So, how could he have so many powerful children? Chapter 34-49 Littleflower's God-Body Human King thought. It does not matter how great Han Sen's genes are. He cannot compete with the most powerful gene in the universe. Only I can take that step. The way he looked at Littleflower was more polite. He smiled and said, Actually, to be serious about all of this, you guys and your father Han Sen are actually descendants of mine. You are a part of my bloodline. In some way you guys are my heirs. We are family, no matter which way you look at it. Bao'er is not your father's real daughter. She does not have human genes inside her. She is not related to you guys. Why are you killing each other on behalf of an outsider? Just hand Bao'er over, and I will refrain from hurting you guys. After all, I am your ancestor. Littleflower did not move an inch. The holy power around him became stronger and stronger. The area that was covered by his power was completely purified. The glow was able to recover the rules of all the substances. The broken buildings and plants were even recovering. The broken building was like new once more. The snap trees healed. It was like everything was coming back to life. Human King, I do not care if you are an ancestor mine. Regardless of what you think, Bao'er is my big sister. Her having my blood in her veins means diddly squat to me. She is my big sister either way. Littleflower walked toward Human King and proceeded to say, Even if she was not my sister, I would not allow her beautiful smile to be taken away by a wretched man like you. By the way, let me say this again, get your dirty hands off her. After that, Littleflower threw a punch toward Human King. A scary, whole power gathered up on the fist and became extremely bright. In that case, I have no choice. You guys have my blood. I was going to give you guys a chance, but it looks like you guys do not cherish my generosity. Human King's hands grabbed Hanlinger. Another hand clutched a fist. He punched toward Littleflower's fist. So, I will now show you the meaning of real power. The black crystal armor had been burned by the golden door's gold light, but the power that was released was still incredible. The Geno prototype armor's power had all the miraculous facets of life's genes. Having the Geno prototype armor meant one could use all sorts of life powers. It could make all the life genes evolve, so they could also destroy and break all the genes. Human King's punch had the Geno prototype armor's power. Under the black fist, everything was dissolved and broken. Even the soul ended up becoming the most primitive of substances. Two fists were now set to collide in a cosmic display of force and power. One of them was black like demonic coal, whereas the other was sparkling white with a holy incandescence. There were two fists. They were on a crash course with each other, and crash into each other they surely did. But this dizzying display did not create a spellbinding spectacle to respect and admire in all awe. The scene that was created by these two fists going against each other was actually rather weird. Wherever the black light was, it dissolved and broke. Wherever the white light was, the dissolved substances were reborn. Two fists of opposing light struck each other, but there was no explosion. The scene that was created was even scarier than an explosion. Human King's face changed. He had consumed Qinxiu's body and soul. Although he had not finished combining, he was already invincible. Even Crape Myrtle, the leader of the universe, was not stronger than him. Amidst the two black and white colliding punches, Littleflower's white fist and light were able to suppress the black fist light. Inch by inch, it went toward Human King. The white light area became bigger and bigger while the black light's area became smaller and smaller. Human King's eyes shook. He could not believe Littleflower's power had reached such a level. Impossible. He is just a mixed heir of some crystallizer. How could he have possibly managed to walk that step? Upon seeing the suppressing white light inside the white light, it was like a new world. Human King's heart was wrought with confusion. He could not grasp an answer. Pang! Human King's body was shaken back as he was thrown away. Littleflower's advance still went on. Human King was shocked. The black crystal armor on his hand was a spirit. The black fist changed. It became a black and gray light. The black and gray light beam could cut through anything. It cut open Littleflower's white fist of light. It flashed past the zone of white light. Littleflower was burning with white light. The The black light cut it open, and the body was cut in half. You are strong, but no matter how strong you are just my heir. When Human King saw the body get cut in half, Littleflower's body was falling in two different ways. Ran was watching. She could not speak. When she saw it, she almost fainted and collapsed. In the next second, she saw Littleflower's body, which had been cut in half, get pulled back together by some strange power. It was recomposed into one being like he had never been hurt in the first place. Littleflower moved his limbs. He calmly looked at Human King and said, "Let's not say I do not know if you are the real human alpha, but even if you are, according to the universe's evolution rules, the new generations are always stronger than the last. You should have been kicked away by now." Human King frowned. He could not completely combine with the Geno prototype armor and reboot class power, but the damage earlier was the very first combination. Even Crape Myrtle wouldn't use a god body to attack. If the god body was damaged, it would be hard to recover. Littleflower's body had been cut open by his universe powers, yet he could still heal. That surprised Human King a fair bit. "Your family has never failed to surprise me," Human King said to Littleflower as he looked at him. He still had a bit of a murderous look in his eyes. "If you guys hand over Bao'er now, I will pretend none of this ever happened. Then I can make you a student of Blood Legion. In the future, you might be able to become Blood Legion's leader." He thought Bao'er was the one he needed to get rid of, but he now knew that in the Hansen family, Bao'er was not the only one who posed a threat to him. Littleflower's power was good enough to go against half the elites of the universe and make them all tremble. "It does not matter if you are Blood Legion or not. I am not interested. I will tell you one more time, let go of my sister." Littleflower's fist blazed with a white flame once more. "I gave you a chance," Human King said. The black crystal armor around his hand turned into a spirit again. He threw a punch toward Littleflower. Littleflower's chest was punctured by the fist, but he immediately recovered. His steps to go to Human King did not stop. Human King frowned. He punched Littleflower without stopping. No matter how Littleflower was injured, he recovered. Human King's universe powers could not destroy Littleflower's body. What kind of power is this? Human King's eyes looked like blades. He stared at Littleflower, who was now looking like an angel. He clearly saw that the light shadow power could affect Littleflower's body, but the universe's power cut the angel light. It did not hurt the light though. It was like the light did not even exist. It looked incredibly weird. With Human King's power, even if the light shadow was a god spirit, his universe powers should have been able to destroy it. It was like his power could affect the super god spirit mode of Hanlinger. But Littleflower's angel light was not affected by him. Human King could not understand what that light shadow was. Seeing Littleflower was already in front of him, the punch was now coming toward his face. Human King moved his eyes. His other hand lifted up Hanlinger's body to put her before Littleflower's fist. Chapter 3450 Holy Spirit Protect Human King only wanted to stop Littleflower. He really did not plan on using Hanlinger as a meat shield to block Littleflower's fist. Who would have known Littleflower's fist was not going to stop at all? It hit Hanlinger's belly. Hanlinger's belly glowed with white light. Littleflower's body had the shadow of an angel. With that punch, it went right through Hanlinger's body. Pang! Human King grabbed Hanlinger's hand. He was blasted away by huge power, and it made him stumble back a little. "I forgot to tell you that my super god spirit body's name is called Holy Spirit Protect. Just like my faith, it exists to protect others." Littleflower pulled back his fist. He looked at Hanlinger. Hanlinger's spirit body had become a super god spirit body. After combining with the Holy Spirit, she immediately grew up. From a little girl, she became an adult woman. The back of her wings spread gloriously. Her white, long hair was like a waterfall of spirit light that was cascading and imbuing its glow on everything. She looked very holy. "How dare you bully my big brother, Littleflower? I will kill you for this." Hanlinger's body had become bigger, but her thoughts never changed. She was still the Hanlinger of the past. Littleflower's Holy Spirit Protect was only for protection. It would not change the behavior of the person who was being protected. It would only bolster the resolve of their faith and their mind. It did not matter if the person being protected had a mind that was good or bad. They would be protected either way. That was because love could exist regardless of whether or not a person was good or evil. Human King looked at the very angry Hanlinger. He wished to say something, but a spirit light flashed. Hanlinger was already in front of him, and her fist was already put to his jaw. Boom. Human King's body was like a rocket flying away. He coughed up a lot of blood, and his soul was well shaken. He was going to be a very broken man. How is that possible? Human King shot through space. His pupils minimized as much as they could. He could not believe Hanlinger was so fast that his own body could not react to her assault. Human King's rule powers covered Space Garden, but Hanlinger's punch broke it. The people who were previously frozen in space, including those from the God Chaos Party and Space Garden factions, were set free. After they were set free, they merely stared into space with a petrified look. They saw Hanlinger, who was like a holy spirit, move to madly beat up Human King. Because Hanlinger was so young, she had never practiced with Geno arts before. Usually, the best she would do was learn a few leg and fist fighting skills. Now, as Hanlinger went crazy, she was mainly using her fists and her legs to pummel her foe. Her skills were basic. They could not be any more basic. She would unleash a straight punch, a hook punch, and a side punch, the most basic of basic. Her leg skills were so basic that a 3-year-old could learn them. But that kind of simple punching and leg skills were beating up Human King in space, strike after strike, all without reprieve. Human King's head and body were being punched by Hanlinger's fists and leg. Human King was like a matryoshka doll swinging around in space. His pretty face was beaten and gnarled to the point he looked like a pig. His eyes, nose, and mouth were all oozing blood. Catcha! The black crystal armor, which was already burned, had a big chunk fall off due to the sheer force of Hanlinger's punch. Everyone was shocked. This was Human King they were witnessing. He was an invincible existence that commanded the 33 skies. It only took one of his punches to destroy the world. He was the type of existence that could make the Geno Hall leader not want to tango with him. No one could believe Human King was being brutally pummeled by Hanlinger in such a fashion. This is our new leader. Ichi was looking at Human King being beat like so, but he failed to believe his eyes. Oh my god. Is that really Little Ling? Tang Jinliu was so shocked that he screamed. What Little Ling? That is my goddess, okay? Space Garden was very happy about this development. Human King was very shocked and angry about what was happening. He tried to use many different Geno arts. It did not matter if it was a time and space Geno art because before Hanlinger, no type of Geno art seemed to work. The pure and holy power she wielded seemed to erase everything in its path. To say it straight, she was simply violent. Her pure power crushed everything. Even reboot class Geno arts were pointless before someone like Hanlinger. Human King had put half a step forward to reach universe class. He had some universal power, but it was still being beaten by Hanlinger's fists and legs. It was like it was not the most powerful universe power after all. And all he had been using was just glass. The power unleashed shocked his soul. If it was not for his soul being powerful, the souls of ordinary creatures would break after one measly punch. Impossible. Impossible. Human King could not accept the result. He had been brooding for more than a few years. He had put a lot of effort into cultivating a pure blood pulse for every generation, so that his body could be purified. He had managed to eliminate every bad crystallizer gene in his body. All he had left was World King Gods and Qin Xiu's powerful genes. He was supposed to have become the most powerful existence in all the world. Now he had rudely found out the two mixed kids, whom he believed had bad genes, could cooperate to release a power that well and truly shocked him. He could not accept any of this. That failure was harder to accept than being beaten. The mixed kids he thought had bad genes were frighteningly strong. All of his years of practice had been rendered pointless. It was all for nothing. All of his sacrifices for Blood Legion had been in vain. No. My path is the correct one. My genes are the strongest ones. I just need to take that step. If I walk that step, I will be stronger than her. Human King's eyes looked purple. He was holding his body, which was being beaten by Han Linger. He changed positions. Han Linger's body was very strong, but she was only just a child. Her mind was not like Human King. Human King's chest received a punch. It sounded as if something had broken. A bloody hole manifested inside his chest. His strong body could not withstand Han Linger's fist. The chest and heart inside were exposed. It was all bloody. When Han Linger saw it, she was given a shock. She was just a child, and she had never hurt anyone else before. At that moment, Human King's body vanished. Oh no! Littleflower reacted first. He raced to Ji Yanran, but his Holy Spirit body had been combined with Han Linger. It was too late for him to go back. He was weak. Before he could even reach Ji Yanran, Human King was behind Ji Yanran. He grabbed Ji Yanran's neck while the other hand punched Littleflower away. Asshole! Let go of my mother! Han Linger was furious. She flashed before Human King with a desire to destroy his face. Human King lifted Ji Yanran. He blocked before Han Linger could pull her fist back. Human King swung another hand, making a gray and black universe power blow up Han Linger. It blasted Han Linger's body away. Obscene! You are shameless! Tang Zhenliu and all the others were shocked and angry. Even the many scary creatures of God Chaos Party looked poorly on this. They had done this before, but he was the God Chaos Party leader. To see him do this in front of everyone else in the world looked ugly. Chapter 34:51 Bao'er returns. Human King grabbed Ji Yanran's hands. Black and gray light was released. It was like many mysterious spells created a chain that ensnared Ji Yanran's body. Han Linger jumped up off the ground. She wanted to attack Human King again. Before she could do anything, Human King said, "Right now, her life is connected to mine. If I am hurt, she will suffer too. If you are not afraid of her dying alongside me, then I dare you to try and harm her." You obscene! Han Linger was so mad and angry, but she did not actually do anything. Kid, this is an adult world. It is dirtier than you think. Human King's face did not change. He tightened the grasp of his fingers. It made the trapping spell he had put on Ji Yanran hold her with greater force. Ji Yanran looked as if she was suffocating. Let go of my mother! Han Linger was furious, but she did not dare rush forward. She was so small. Her mind was still not mature enough to fight Human King. Although she had a powerful power, she could not fight someone like Human King. Human King ignored her. He turned to Littleflower and said, "I will count to 3. Take back your Holy Spirit. Otherwise, I will erase her from existence. Soul and body, it will all be gone. 1, 2, 3. Human King did not stop. He counted to 3. His hands were going to close completely. Hang on! Han Littleflower screamed, but Human King did not stop. Han Littleflower was so shocked that he put away his Holy Spirit protect and madly shouted, "Human King, if you dare to hurt her, I will kill you." Human King's body finally stopped. He coldly said, "Young man, talking crap will only make you look like a useless human being. Do not say anything that is out of your power to control." When the Holy Spirit protect was taken away by Littleflower, Han Linger's form, which looked like an angel, receded. She returned to looking like a child again. Her power was reduced. Now there was no hope of her fighting back against Human King. With the combined powers of the brother and sister, they had managed to suppress Human King. When their powers split up, neither of them could fight against him. Han Littleflower was still able to fight against Human King a little, but his Holy Spirit protect needed to be used on someone to maximize the power. Using it alone was not very strong. It would not pose a big threat to Human King. Seeing Han Linger return to her original self, Human King wanted to kill her. The universe power generated once more and struck Han Linger fiercely. He wanted to kill Han Linger to erase the threat she posed. His head was very clear. Killing Han Littleflower would prove difficult, and Han Littleflower had the Holy Spirit protect, which was something that required other people to make it powerful. Holy Spirit protect's power was undeniably strong. If the person being protected was not strong, the Holy Spirit protect would not be strong either. Han Linger's and Han Littleflower's Holy Spirit protect was the scariest. Only one of them had to be removed. Now he had greatly offended Han Sen's family. It did not matter if he killed a daughter of the Han family. Compared to the leader of the universe, killing an heir was practically nothing. Human King practiced with the Blood Pulse Sutra. He had absorbed the blood pulse of Blood Legion members from every single generation. That was how he was able to purify his blood. It was unknown how many members had been sacrificed to make him the man he was now. He was not like some soft man who was incapable of making a decision. Linger. Littleflower saw Human King's murderous visage and swapped space to block Linger from the power. He exploded his Holy Spirit power to throw a punch at Human King's incoming universe power. Seeing two powers about to collide, Human King lifted Ji Yanran in front. This time, Human King was not going to make the same mistake. He put Ji Yanran in front, but he did not let Littleflower's power be allowed to touch Ji Yanran. His power was going to blow up Ji Yanran's body. If you want her to live, be honest with me, Human King coldly said. Littleflower had to put his power away. Otherwise, his punch would end up blowing up Ji Yanran's body before he could even reach Human King. Littleflower withdrew his power. Human King's universe power struck Littleflower and made him fly away. Although there was the Holy Spirit protect power going with him, which meant Littleflower would not be killed. When Littleflower left, Linger was exposed. Human King did not hesitate. He used that opportunity to generate a finger. He pointed at Han Linger's forehead with the desire to break her spirit body. Linger, Ji Yanran and Han Littleflower felt bad. They wanted to use their bodies to block the strike that was about to fall on Han Linger. Ji Yanran could not move. Han Littleflower wanted to teleport back, but it was too late. Huang Fujing and Tang Jinliu were very angry witnessing this, but they were not even as fast as Han Littleflower. They would be unable to carry out a rescue. While everyone was in shock seeing Han Linger's body about to be punched by Human King's universe powers, there was suddenly a flash. A small body appeared in front of Han Linger. It came with gold light. Human King's universe power went against that brilliant gold light. It was like wine pouring into a bottle. It simply vanished. Bao'er. Sister Bao'er. When everyone saw this shadow arrive, they were all just as happy as they were shocked. Han Linger and Han Littleflower were very happy. They all called her big sister. Bao'er was clutching a little gold gourd. She stared at Human King. She used her gourd to take away Human King's universe power. Far away in the forest, Chaos stood atop the pinnacle of a tall tree. She looked down at Bao'er and seemed conflicted. Bao'er had not succeeded in combining with the super god gene seed yet, so it was very risky of her to try and battle Human King now. She did not want this to happen. But Bao'er went there by her own volition, and she had been powerless to try and stop her. With Human King showing up in Space Garden, of all places, she was a bit confused. She had spent all her time in the sanctuaries, so she had not learned about Qin Xiu being consumed by Human King. How dare you hurt my mother? Bao'er looked at Human King and spoke very slowly. Human King grabbed Ji Yanran and coldly said, "It is good that you are here. The whole family has been fighting me, so now I will have the chance to erase you all. You should be the one who dies." Bao'er rarely got mad, but now she was blisteringly furious. She lifted the gourd and aimed at Human King. Human King grabbed Ji Yanran and coldly said, "If you want her to die, then do it." Bao'er behaved as if she did not hear anything. She held the gold gourd with its bottom facing the sky. The gourd faced Human King. She patted the gourd. It made the little gold gourd shine with gold. A beam of gold came out of it, firing toward Human King like a laser. "Sister Bao'er, don't do it." Littleflower and Linger were in shock. Human King had already learned his lesson from Han Littleflower. He was not going to allow Littleflower's power to touch Ji Yanran. He put his hand back and pulled Ji Yanran away. The spell that had bound Ji Yanran became tighter. It was digging into her skin and looked ready to break her body. Chapter 3452 Breakthrough. Bao'er's eyes looked cold. The little gold gourd in her hands was not going away. She coldly shouted, "Mother, come back." Human King felt bad about this. He used rule powers to cloak the skies, and then suddenly felt emptiness. Ji Yanran, who had been grabbed by him, had been sucked toward the gold little gourd with the magical spell chain that had kept her in wraps. Human King's face changed. Let's not say this was purely because of Bao'er's power, but even Han Littleflower and Han Linger had beaten him up when they cooperated. He turned around, wanting to do nothing more than escape. Are you attempting to escape now? Isn't that just a bit too late? Bao'er grunted coldly. She used the little gourd to shine on Human King. Space suddenly started to swirl. A gourd was at the center of the swirl. Human King gathered up universe power. He was unable to teleport away. The whole of space, all of its rules and orders, were disturbed by the presence of that gourd. Human King was unable to his own rules powers to move and shift things. He used his universe powers to fight back against the force of suction. No matter what he tried, he could not escape and fly away from the suck. Bad man, where are you going to go now? Han Linger shouted. Her body had combined with Han Littleflower's holy spirit. She was going toward Human King, who was currently in space. Bao'er's little gourd power was weird. Her force of suction only seemed to work on Human King. It did not affect anyone else. Han Linger was not affected in the slightest, so she ran in front of Human King and gave him a big punch in the face. Human King was not capable of beating Linger, who had Holy Spirit protect keeping her safe. His body was trapped by the godly force of suction. Nothing he did granted him escape, so Linger punched him in the face. Human King's face twisted as his body leaned back. Because he had been sucked by the little gourd, he could not fly away. He had to remain precisely where he was. Linger was furious. A fist and a leg were moving. They beat against Human King as if he was a doll. He moved left and right in response. Bit by bit, the Geno prototype armor shattered more and more as time went by. Chaos was watching this unfold. She was frozen in sheer disbelief. What is going on? Why is her power no worse than this guy, who is half a step away from achieving universe class or perhaps even better? Is this as far as a mixed human can go? Chaos thought. Seeing that his god body was going to shatter, Human King was becoming very angry. After he consumed Qin Xiu, his power kept fading. Even the Geno god base needed to be avoided. He did not expect his heirs would provide him with so much trouble. His heart jumped. Space around started to rumble. It was like there was a giant space tsunami. The whole of space and Space Garden created big space movements. Every substance and creature became distorted. Their bodies all became weird. The area that had shaking space came out from a giant stone tablet. It was the Geno tablet. Seeing the Geno tablet's light spell spin, it was like a giant calculator was calculating something. All of the light symbols kept flickering across it. Ever since the Geno tablet had appeared, Human King, who had been restricted, had his spirit light glow brighter. Originally, it was just his hand that had a spirit body. With the buffing of the Geno tablet, his body and the black crystal armor started to adopt a spirit-like appearance. Pang! Human King and Han Linger punched each other. The former failed to shake off Han Linger, but it was not like before where he was getting dominated. Bao'er's face changed. Human King's body flew up. He escaped the gourd's force of suction. The Geno tablet struck the Space Garden. All of Space Garden and space around looked as if it was under the pressure of the Geno tablet. The creatures that were not yet break world class were pushed down onto the ground by the Geno tablet's rule power. They were unable to move. Han Linger attacked Human King again, but Human King's spirit body was able to fight against Han Linger's speed and power. It was becoming easier and easier to block. He was no longer suppressed by the violent Han Linger. Han Linger, come back! Bao'er looked glum as she yelled at Han Linger. Han Linger was very young. When she saw Human King was capable of blocking her attacks, she became a little scared. She heard Bao'er calling out to her, which was what prompted her to fall back. I am the leader of the Geno tablet. I can suppress the entire universe. You have some power, but you do not have enough to defeat the likes of me. Human King's body was clad in the broken Geno prototype armor. When he was a spirit, it recovered. It wrapped up Human King's body to look like new. Human King is using the Geno tablet's power. It looks like he is going to be able to make that step. Chaos was watching all of this unfold from afar. She was primarily concerned about the safety of Bao'er. Human King was going to take that step any second now, but Bao'er only needed some fire. She could not really fight him. Human King stood in front of the Geno tablet as a sky full of god light protected his god body. People were able to see there were 2 bolts of lightning striking each other. Bao'er's eyes were filled with gold. She fired 2 gold lights at him. With Human King's vision hitting her lights, 2 scary powers exploded between them. Space collapsed. Time and light collapsed. It created a weird hole. It looked like it was there, but it was not there. It looked like a giant, empty hole. It is no wonder why this is God Chaos Party and the Geno Hall leader's heir. If you walk that step, I will have to fight you with my power. Human King's long purple hair went straight. It was flying with the black and gray universe power. The black and gray universe power started to turn purple. The Geno tablet and Human King's power shone on each other. They were covered in purple light. It was like a mysterious tablet from ancient times was landing there. When the power of Human King and the Geno tablet changed, Human King's Geno prototype armor became like melting ice. It simply became juice that was absorbed by Human King's body. Human King's perfect god body was now on display in front of everybody. Every inch of his body was releasing a mysterious and powerful purple light. That light did not seem to fit in with the universe's rules and order. It made the rules of the universe isolate from his body. It put Human King's body in a blur. It did not look real. It was like a layer of matte glass. He walked that step. Chaos's heart jumped. Even though she knew this was going to happen, she was still nervous about it actually happening with the old leaders and her blood, combined with the aid of the Geno tablet. It would be strange if he had not been able to take that last step. What made Chaos sad was that Human King had great difficulty breaking through that step. Yet, Bao'er's and Linger's suppression was the catalyst for making him finally make that step. He made it. His body was now looking weird. Human King was glowing with a mysterious and purple light. Bao'er could not help but frown. She looked at Human King and said to Littleflower, "Littleflower, let me use your Holy Spirit." Chapter 34-53 Universe Class Fight. Littleflower heard the command. He put away his Holy Spirit Protect to disable its presence on Han Linger. He teleported in front of Bao'er and reached out his hand, trying to put the Holy Spirit Protect on her body. After thinking for a moment, Chaos said, "Han Littleflower's power is certainly weird. That weird spirit body power is similar to the power of a god spirit, but it is different. It looks like it brushes against the edge of a universe-class force. His powers might be what is last required to push past the final barrier, and have her combine with the super god gene seed. That way, she might be able to take that final step too. Fighting Human King now might be a good idea after all." She was, however, still a bit worried. In the past, Qin Xiu gave up his body. There was no third person adjoined. The pure Geno prototype armor combined with reboot blood produced a flaw. Now Human King's body was fully composed, and it erased the presence of a flaw. Without error, he had managed to walk that last step perfectly. Bao'er's and Human King's power were still similar though. It meant that it was hard to suspect which of the pair might win. Seeing Littleflower's hand touch Bao'er, suddenly, a purple blur of a shadow flashed. Human King appeared in front of Littleflower with the image of a blurry fist shadow. Littleflower was shocked by its sudden appearance, but he had developed into a man of much resolve. He was not going to shy away from a battle such as this, and he was not going to bow and be put off by the blurry shadow fist that was coming for him. He stood tall and proud and raised a fist of his own. He raised it to welcome the incoming attack. And welcome it he did. What resulted from the 2 terrible collisions was a massive explosion of white spirit light. Boom. Littleflower's fist broke alongside the white spirit light. His body was like a cannonball that had been fired. He flew into Space Garden's forest. It rendered the forest half broken. Wang Yuhang and the others were all shocked. Littleflower had learned his super god spirit body, and it was clear to see his power was amongst the greatest in the universe. Even so, he was still unable to block Human King's punch. It was difficult to imagine how scary that punch must have been. Blurg. Under the Holy Spirit Protect, Littleflower was still wounded enough to end up heaving up blood. His fist and bones were broken. The power of the Holy Spirit Protect was not enough to make his broken knuckles recover. His wound, furthermore, was tainted by a purple air. Bao'er was holding the gold gourd. She released a gold light. The gold gourd created a resonance that shone at Human King. Human King stood within the gold light, but it did not look like he wanted to dodge anything. Now the suction was stronger than it was before. When it shone on Human King, it was absolutely nothing. It was like countless golden threads of silk were surrounding him, tugging at his body. It was like they wanted to snare Human King and drag him into an abyss. But Human King's body was like a mountain that could not be moved. This is the real power. It is something that can fight back against the universe itself. Human King ignored Bao'er. He clenched his fist to feel the powerful power he now possessed. Bao'er looked gloomy about it all, but the luminosity of the golden light did not falter. It became stronger. When the golden light shone, everything was sucked into the gourd. Only Human King's body did not move. He was unable to be budged. Littleflower had been delivered a terrible strike, and much pain was brought with it. With a muster of strength, he had to hold up his own inured body. He was going to stay on his feet. He climbed out of the ruins and teleported over to Littleflower again. He wanted to give his Holy Spirit to her. Human King did not want Bao'er to combine with the Holy Spirit. He moved quickly. The gourd's gold light could not stop him. He came before Littleflower. This time, he punched Littleflower in the chest. The punch perforated Littleflower's entire chest. Littleflower was left bleeding, but he looked happy. The Holy Spirit left his body and flew to Bao'er from another direction. He had only lured Human King there, so the Holy Spirit could be delivered to Bao'er. Seeing the Holy Spirit almost come before Bao'er, Human King's body vanished. In the next second, his hand grabbed that holy-looking angel spirit. Suggesting it was a grab was not quite right. It was the purple mist around his hands that wrapped around the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit that could not be damaged had been grabbed by Human King. Your little tricks are useless before real power. I am the universe. That means I am the whole universe. You are just a creature that exists in the universe. No matter how strong or how brave you display your universe powers, can you actually hope to fight against real universe-class powers? Human King grabbed the Holy Spirit. His 5 fingers applied a throttling strength to deploy a powerful power that could destroy the Holy Spirit. Blurg. Littleflower's chest was punctured through. He was already injured, but now his spirit body had been broken. He was bleeding profusely. He was dying on the ground. Littleflower, my big brother. Hanlinger ran before Littleflower. She held Littleflower and gave her spirit power into his body. She wanted to do her best to save him. When her spirit power touched Littleflower's wounds, a purple mist exploded. It could not enter Littleflower's body. You. Damn you. Bao'er's eyes looked cold. She put her gourd away. The gourd landed on her forehead. It became a gold glassy liquid that covered Bao'er's entire small body. It became a golden armor that wrapped her up. When Chaos saw Bao'er combine with her gourd, she looked worried. Bao'er's combination level was not 100%. She had not yet taken that last step. She was not an opponent who could rival Human King just yet. But Bao'er was not planning on backing down. Her gold body flashed. She went in front of Human King like a golden bolt of lightning that flickered around Human King to make many golden shadows. That was merely because Bao'er was now extremely fast. Not even the elites of the universe could follow her body. Human King was in space. He did not move. He moved his arm and blocked all of Bao'er's attacks. If she has not walked that step, it will not work. Chaos shook her head. She was thinking of a way in which she might be able to grab Bao'er and escape. To fight on this day was a lost cause. She had to think of a way in which she could grab Bao'er and escape. Only after Bao'er combined completely could she fight. Human King saw the absolute benefit he now had. Bao'er's power was not a threat to him, but Human King was not entirely satisfied. He was a very careful person. If he was already in control of the stage, he would not allow any actors to remain if he did not want them. In the next second, Human King's power exploded. The punching power made the universe itself quiver and shake. It seemed to destroy everything. Substance chains and rules were torn apart. Everything was like paper before the might of that fierce power. Facing the scary power, Bao'er's face looked different. She put a pair of sunglasses on her face. In the next moment, something weird happened. Bao'er's body suddenly looked like Human King. It was like two human kings were standing across from each other. Boom! Bao'er had become Human King. Without waiting around, she unleashed a punch. With Human King's punching power being the same as her foe, an equal situation was established. Human King was shocked. He did not know what Bao'er's sunglasses were, but they had made Bao'er look just like him. She did not only look like him either. They also shared the same power. Before Human King could think straight, Bao'er began her assault. The power she exploded with was identical to Human King's. The universe power and elements she used were exactly the same. Two human kings were now fighting each other, and no one could tell who was who. They did not know which human king they should be worrying about. Chapter 3454 Overdraft. I do not believe you can really copy a universe-class power. Human King did not believe Bao'er could really copy a universe-class power. He went closer to her, wanting to see just how well Bao'er could copy his talents. The two of their powers did not seem so strong. It seemed to depend on their bodies. The blurry purple was not so sharp after all. Where their powers could hurt was in dealing damage that could guarantee the other would not recover. In space, there was a purple crack. It appeared to be permanent. Even though the universe could fix itself, the crack did not go away. Ordinary elites would not be able to discern their movements. They saw two blurry purple shadows fighting in the universe. Only a few of them were able to watch the pair conduct their combat. Linger, how is Littleflower? Wang Yuehang and the others came before Littleflower, who was dying and currently passed out. The bloody hole in his chest did not stop gushing. Everyone tried using their powers to heal Littleflower. When their powers landed on Littleflower, they were always blasted away by the purple mist. They were unable to make Littleflower better. All they could do was make the unconscious Littleflower frown. Damn it, Tang Zhenliu madly said. Where is Sanmu? If he does not come back, his biological son is going to die because of his recent pummeling. He was not blaming Han-san, of course. He just wanted to release his anger for being completely useless. Step aside. Don't do anything if you do not know how to heal him. Give Littleflower to me. Han Yufei approached the fallen son. Upon seeing her arrival, everyone stepped away. She inspected Littleflower. In the Geno Hall, Crape, Myrtle and the God Spirits were all watching Bao'er compete with Human King God Hall leader. Bao'er is not universe class yet, but she is still able to simulate the universe powers, Light Goddess said. She was clearly in shock. What is going on here? Is that really because of the sunglasses she is wearing? Crape Myrtle looked strange as he said. If I am not mistaken, those sunglasses belong to the old leader. I did not know the sunglasses were able to do such a thing. Did that really happen? Light Goddess and the other God Spirits looked over there. They really did look like the sunglasses the old leader used to wear. Just like Crape Myrtle didn't know, no one else knew the sunglasses possessed a power like that. Moment God did not really understand the fight that was happening, so she said, with exactly the same body type and power, I believe Bao'er can defeat Human King. According to theory, anyone can be a victor. With the same body and the same power, the one with the original form should be better. But Human King's body has combined with the body and soul of Qin Xiao. He has only just reached universe class. He is undoubtedly still learning it. It is hard for us to discern which between them might be the winner. While they were talking, Crape Myrtle watched them fight in space. He lifted a wry smile and said, no matter which of the pair wins this fight, the damage done to the universe can likely not be recovered. Now the universe will only be given more holes. Chaos looked at the fight strangely. She knew the sunglasses belonged to the old leader. The old leader used to wear them a lot before he suddenly stopped wearing them. It was just a pair of sunglasses, so she did not realize it at first. Now she was able to notice it was the same pair of sunglasses that were on Bao'er. Those sunglasses possessed a frightening sort of power. They were able to simulate universe-class powers. Chaos did not expect this sort of development. Chaos and Crape Myrtle were able to tell the difference between Bao'er and Human King. They were really happy about the way things were turning out. Moon God was watching this fight too. Even though she was really powerful, she was unable to discern the fighters with clarity. She asked Tai Yi, "What is going on?" "Bao'er has pulled an advantage," Tai Yi said. "It looks like the old leader and the God Chaos Party's old leader's real daughter is stronger," Moon God said. "After all, her genes are bound to be better than Human King, who was always just a byproduct. Poor Human King for going through all that." Tai Yi said, "Bao'er is still going to lose." "Why?" Moon God asked him with shock. "After all, she is not really universe class," Tai Yi said. "She uses the glasses to simulate Human King. That must cost her a lot of power. She will not last too long in such a state." "In that case, what can be done? The Geno Hall has not yet made a move. That guy Crape Myrtle is not going to help Bao'er fight Human King. Will the Geno Hall merrily go down with her? Does the old man not even understand that?" Moon God frowned. He understands the stakes more than anyone, but he also understands who emerges victorious, Tai Yi said. "Even people like him and I still require another half a step to walk forward. We cannot fight the real universe-class opponents. To go out there now is not far off committing suicide. So, is he just going to sit on his bum and do nothing at all to help things?" Moon God was not very happy about this. "Of course he will need to do something in time," Tai Yi said. "What he needs to do is not fight Human King directly. He needs to be prepared to open the universe." "Reboot the universe?" Moon God asked with shock. "Yes, reboot the universe in the event Bao'er loses," Tai Yi said. "That will be his last resort for stopping Human King. It is still hard to say whether or not that trick will work though. After all, Human King's body does possess reboot blood. The rebooting of the universe might not even work on him." Moon God remained silent. She did not say a word. If Tai Yi said Crape Myrtle fighting Human King was pointless, then it was pointless. Now they needed to pray Bao'er did not lose. Human King could not believe he was being suppressed by Bao'er. It was only just Bao'er simulating his body and power, but when they fought, he seemed to be losing. Bao'er was better at using his powers than he was. It was as if she had been born with the powers. Pang. Human King's universe powers ripped. Bao'er's hands were like knives that went through his chest. His chest was delivered a long wound. Winning. Chaos's heart jumped. In the next second, her hopes were sapped by a bottomless abyss. After that slash, Bao'er should have been able to catch up. She should have been able to suppress Human King and kill him. Who would have thought at this moment Bao'er would return from her Human King mode and revert into the shape and form of a child? Her face was still wearing the sunglasses, but the sunglasses were no longer shiny. It also looked as if her body had just been brought out of the water. Her face was so pale that it looked as if she was going to fall over any time soon. From her weakened state, one could tell she had exhausted far too much of her strength. Human King was extremely happy about this, and he was not going to sit around hesitating what to do next. He used all the power he could to punch the weakened Bao'er. The purple power carried a lonely light that destroyed everything. It came directly in front of Bao'er. Bao'er was too tired. She was unable to avoid the punch that was to come. "Don't do it." Han Linger and Chaos screamed together, but they couldn't do anything about it. Bao'er's and Human King's fight had already left the area of Space Garden. Chapter 3455 I have been waiting for you. Seeing Human King's universe power was about to strike Bao'er, the worst was feared. Suddenly, the power was frozen in the air. It was like it had been frozen. It stopped 3 feet away from Bao'er. Everyone was very happy. They thought Hansen had returned, but what they saw was not that. It appeared as if nothing or no one had stopped Human King. He was holding his punching stance when he just lowered his head. His body shivered in place. Very embarrassing. A voice came out of Human King's mouth. This voice, however, was completely different from what it was before. Everyone was shocked and unsure about what had just happened. They then heard Human King's voice. That voice sounded shocked. The vocal cords trembled. You. How could you? There was no denying that it was now Human King who was speaking. It was certainly his voice, but the tone and delivery of his words did not exude the confidence they did before. It was now different. It sounded like Human King was afraid. I was going to wait a while until the body and the soul had completely combined before taking back control of the body, but your behavior made me feel great shame far before I wanted to take the body. I am afraid I will just have to take back control of the body now. The proud and cold voice sounded again. Now that everyone could hear it, they knew it was coming from Human King's mouth, but it was not Human King who was actually doing the speaking. Jinxiu. Mr. In God Chaos Party, some creatures recognized whose voice belonged to Jinxiu. I cannot believe it. This has to be the greatest plot twist in the history of the universe. He is still alive? Wow. Chaos and Crape Myrtle were shocked by this development. Human King's voice said while shaking, "This body is mine, you silly fool. You cannot take it from me. You thought you could, but that was your own delusion. I merely let you continue believing. You see, my body and soul are a perfect match. Now your soggy soul is broken, and it has been absorbed by me. You cannot fight me, no matter how much you might wish to. Does that even matter?" After Jinxiu said that, Human King's body and purple hair went straight. It was flying into the sky with a purple light. Human King's head was raised. His eyes had 4 pupils. In one eye, 2 pupils were morphing. One of the purple pupils was becoming bigger than the other while the other pupil became smaller. No. Impossible. Human King cried aloud from his mouth. There were only 2 pupils left in his eyes. His body seemed to exhibit great differences. For some reason, he was looking like a completely different person. The presence of that person changed to become one of extreme might. It was the same body, but the presence had changed. It gave people a different impression and feeling of it. Leader. Many Blood Legion members had witnessed this scene. Their faces looked gray after what happened. They were not sure what was going on. Human King, who had once absorbed Jinxiu's body, was now being taken over. In reverse, Jinxiu was the one to take over and refine the soul. Chaos and Crape Myrtle did not look particularly happy about this. Human King was strong, but his power came from other people. He had not gotten used to the powers within him yet, and his mind had a problem too. If Human King had taken over his body when Bao'er made that step, she could have beaten him. If that body's master became Jinxiu, Bao'er's chance of winning was low. Jinxiu looked at Bao'er and walked over to her. "Do not hurt my big sister." Hanlinger was still rushing over. She was now in front of Bao'er. She opened her hands in front of Bao'er and madly looked at Jinxiu. Jinxiu smiled. "You are Hanlinger, right?" "I am Hanlinger, so what?" Hanlinger looked at Jinxiu, but she felt a bit scared. "Not bad," Jinxiu said. "With your potential, if you grow up and level up your body to the max, you can definitely take that step. In this universe, it is hard to find people who are stronger than you. It is good you know how powerful I am," Hanlinger said. "Have you not heard about Big Sister Bao'er? You are too young now. I cannot wait for you to grow up." After Jinxiu said that, he reached his hands out. It was like Hanlinger's body was being pulled away by an invisible sort of suction. She landed in Jinxiu's hands. He rolled her up in his sleeves. "Let go of Linger." Although Huang Fujing, Wang Yuhang, and the others knew they were weak, they still raced over. Jinxiu's eyes froze in place. Time and space seemed to have stopped. Everyone's bodies froze. It was like they could not move at all. "I am not Human King," Jinxiu said. "I have no interest in killing a child." He then threw out his hands. Hanlinger's body was tossed away. She quickly landed atop Huang Fujing, who could not currently move. Huang Fujing was able to control her body again. She carried Hanlinger, who had fallen out of her spirit body mode. "Watch her. Right now this is not her place to fight." Jinxiu stopped looking at Huang Fujing and Hanlinger. He walked over to Bao'er. Bao'er did not move. All she did was look at Jinxiu. Earlier she fought Human King. He was strong, but Bao'er did not feel any pressure fighting him. Now facing Jinxiu, Bao'er could not help but feel a big amount of pressure inside her. "Bao'er, go." Chaos's body broke space and arrived before her. She stood in front of Bao'er and palmed her body. She wanted to put Bao'er's body in space so she could more easily escape. Before her hands could touch Bao'er, she felt as if her body had been restrained by a certain power. She could not move. Qin Xiu looked at Chaos and said, "Mr. Leader, to be fair, you are like a mother to me. I should thank you for granting me my life. If you think about old times so fondly, why don't you do me a favor and let Bao'er go?" Chaos noticed her body was unable to move, and she was so shocked because of it. Universe-class powers were far scarier than she thought they could be. In the past, Human King had not been able to use real universe-class powers. Now Qin Xiu had control of the body. He was showing the world the real power of what universe-class individuals could do. Although Chaos has already lost most of her power in her body, trapping her should still not have been an easy feat yet. Qin Xiu had done it with ease. Qin Xiu looked at Chaos and coldly said, "I do not have the patience to wait. I am sorry, but I cannot let her leave." While he spoke, Qin Xiu pulled out his hands. Everyone thought he was going to do something to Bao'er. He used a finger on his right hand to cut his left wrist. It led to purple crystal-like blood dropping out of the wound. It was blood, and those blood drops floated over to Bao'er. "Drink this blood. It can help speed up your combining with a gene seed. I will be waiting for you." Qin Xiu made his wound keep bleeding. Everyone was shocked. No one expected Qin Xiu would behave this way. Compared to Human King, Qin Xiu was a madman. Chapter 3456 Pressure. Qin Xiu brought everyone pressure. And he was much scarier than Human King. When Qin Xiu brought back his body, there was no killing behavior or anything soft. That scariness was silent, and it was spreading. It made Huang Fujing, Lin Feng, and the others feel cold without being cold. Their bodies were quaking incessantly. Bao'er had not said a word ever since Qin Xiu returned. She looked at Chaos, Hanlinger, and the others. She drank Qin Xiu's blood without hesitation. When she drank the blood, it was like Bao'er's gold light was gas being ignited. It was burning with fire, and it was burning strong. Bao'er's body was in some gold and bright light. She kept growing up. Her 5-year-old body was growing up very fast. She went from being a small kid to a teen, and from being a teen to becoming a full-blown young lady. Her pupils and long hair turned gold. She was wrapped up by a gold and crystal set of armor. She rather looked like a Valkyrie, so cold and high-level. That gold flame looked like it could destroy all the rules and orders of the world. One could not see through it. One could only see a high-class, gold shadow standing there. Bao'er reached out her hand. Chaos, who was currently frozen in space, was pulled by her. She pushed toward Space Garden, sending Chaos back there. Qin Xiu did not stop Bao'er from doing that. He merely watched her in total silence. "I am sorry you had to wait so long, but now we can start fighting." Bao'er and her gold eyes looked at Qin Xiu. She spoke her words slowly, word by word. Qin Xiu did not speak. He casually stood aloft in space. He reached out his hand and raised it as if he was inviting Bao'er to strike. Bao'er gnashed her teeth. She was not going to play nice. She used her hand like a knife and unleashed a strike at Qin Xiu. With that knife, the sky and the ground seemed to be drawn by the knife. That was Han Sen's under the sky knife skill. That is Han Sen's under the sky knife skill. You have learned it quite well. Your proficiency with it is remarkably deep, but you are lacking some of its presence since you are only just a girl. A knife skill like this does not suit you. Qin Xiu reached out the hand. It seemed normal. It did not have any power, but it broke Bao'er's knife skill. Bao'er failed to cast it. She had to swap her skill. Bao'er's knife skill changed. It was now like a fang that could crush everything. She was casting another one of Han Sen's skills that was called Teeth Knife. This knife skills is admittedly rather interesting. It is awfully evil too. It does not go well with your power element or mine though. When Qin Xiu waved his hand, he ended up breaking Bao'er's skill. Bao'er had only used her attack halfway before it was shattered. She already had to swap skills. Bao'er quickly cast another 10 skills in sequence, but Qin Xiu managed to break each one of them. No skill she used actually worked against him. Many of them had to be changed out halfway. This skill is not bad, but it is simply not strong enough. You could be a lot crueler than this. This skill should be faster. This skill cannot be done too fast. You have to be slow with it. Qin Xiu casually used one hand to break Bao'er's skills completely one by one. He even pointed out every mistake Bao'er made in the casting. The fight between Qin Xiu and Bao'er was more like a senior teaching a junior than a death match. Qin Xiu only broke her skills. He did not attack her. He just broke all of her skills. Even though Bao'er had reached universe class to be on par with Qin Xiu, it still looked as if there was a big difference between the pair. It was like a child competing with an adult. What does Qin Xiu want to do? Light Goddess was confused by his behavior. Anyone could tell that Qin Xiu was trying to help Bao'er boost her power. With Bao'er's talents and potential, it was known that if she was to make a mistake, she would never make it again. But Qin Xiu did not kill her. He only broke her attacks and went no further, and that was something that could make Bao'er stronger. What a crazy and ignorant guy, Moment God coldly said. He could just end the fight, but he has made his opponent stronger to win. Qin Xiu's confidence was completely different from human kings, but this kind of fearless confidence made people feel more hopeless and scared than ever. Crape Myrtle was a bit nervous about it all. He looked in the direction of the evolution wall and quietly said to himself, Bao'er is just a kid, and she has always been taken care of by Han Senator. Her mind is still not very strong. I am afraid only Han Sun, a man who can fully control his body, can fight Qin Xiu in his current state. Hansen needs to hurry up. Any longer and he will be too late. Bao'er followed Hansen all the time. Hansen never hid anything from Bao'er. Aside from a few Geno arts that needed to be started from the very beginning, Bao'er knew them all save for a handful. So Bao'er could use almost all of the Geno arts Hansen had learned. The Geno arts known by Huang Fujing and the others could also be used by Bao'er, and she could perform them just as well. Even the Geno arts owned by Moment God and other god spirits could be used by Bao'er easily. In front of Qin Xiu, it did not matter what the skill was. It could be broken with ease. So far, Bao'er could not use a complete skill set. She could not even make Qin Xiu move an inch. Huang Fujing, Lin Feng, Tang Jinliu, Qin Xian, and the others did not go and join the fight, but they did watch Bao'er fight Qin Xiu. It made them sweat to watch. When Bao'er used their skills to fight Qin Xiu, he broke each performance completely. If Qin Xiu wanted to murder Bao'er, she would have been killed many times over by now. They never thought their skills could possess such horrible flaws that they would be damaged like that. In the past, they thought it might have been their powers that were not strong enough. Now they realized it was actually their skills possessing flaws that were the issue. After training with them for so many years, it was by mere luck that they were still alive. Although Bao'er had millions of skills at her disposal, it was only a matter of time before she ran out. Even though she was really talented, she was feeling quite upset. Everyone had said she was the only one who could battle Qin Xiu. Now that she was really fighting Qin Xiu, she could really grasp just how terrible of a foe he was. They were both universe-class beings now, but Qin Xiu before her was like a god. It did not seem like he was a person who could be defeated. Are you going to give up now? You are everyone's hope, are you not? Your mother, the God Chaos Party leader, is waiting for you to beat me. Your friends and family are waiting for you to kill me. Are you going to disappoint them all? Qin Xiu seemed to see through what Bao'er was thinking. After saying this, he finally made a move. Qin Xiu unleashed his first strike, but his attack was like he was copying what Bao'er had just done before. All the skills were used in the precise way Bao'er used them. What depressed Bao'er the most was that when she was using the same skills before, Qin Xiu broke them easily. Now when Qin Xiu used them the same way, she used Qin Xiu's ways to break the skills but could not break them. Bao'er felt as if her body was suffocating under so much pressure. Being suppressed by Qin Xiu, she started to retreat. But there wasn't much space for her to fall back to. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.